Chapter 650. The mountains were continuous, and the water was gurgling. When they met after returning, there was no need to mention how much they missed each other. The trees were curved, and the wind blew continuously. When people stood in front of them, the clouds were on the horizon. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were pulled along by Zhang Zhong as they walked back unhurriedly. Behind them were the light cavalrymen who were leading the horses, as well as the remaining 9,000 elite soldiers who were defeated in just one battle. The originally busy commoners weren't in a hurry to do their own things. They also followed at the back of the group, hoping that they could do something to help. They all knew that they didn't have to worry about Tubo invading the border. At least within 3 years, Tubo wouldn't be able to recover. This time, they were crippled. It wasn't that they lost a lot of soldiers, but that their morale was destroyed. After traveling for 2 hours, they arrived at the mountain entrance to Wing Province Prefecture. What entered Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's eyes was a paved road. The middle of the road was paved with stones, and the two sides were complemented by cement. The cement road was for pedestrians to walk on, and the middle was for horses to run on. There happened to be a group of merchants in front of them. There were also many commoners helping to transport the goods. Just now, there were already people who took the small path to deliver the news in advance. Each and every one of them stood in place, not daring to block the way, so as not to delay the hero's return home. If the dozens of big merchants here were to join forces, they could once again shake up Jiannam Province's stable economic environment like the Tubo people. However, none of them appeared to be complacent. Even their voices were very soft. This time, it wasn't because of Zhang family and Wang family's financial resources. It was all because of Cuckoo, the great general who had fought in Tubo for thousands of miles without a single defeat. For the sake of the commoners, she had slaughtered countless Tubo soldiers. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. If by any chance someone blocked her path, the little child's temper flared up. Who would care about who you were? Perhaps she would flip over and get on the horse, letting you personally experience the power of the cavalry's charge. However, when Zhang Zhong held his son and daughter-in-law in each hand and walked over, many of the merchants rubbed their eyes. Could the little girl who was skipping and jumping as she walked be the demoness who killed Tubo, who had 4 times the military strength of the Tubo people, and didn't dare to move lightly? She didn't look like it. She didn't look like it at all. She was clearly a carefree little girl next door. If it wasn't for the tattered flag fluttering behind her back, who would have thought that this girl would still have a smile on her face when she killed? As Wang Wan approached, the merchants tacitly took a step back to show their modesty. When Cuckoo nodded and smiled, the merchants also responded with what they thought was the most sincere smile. They were worried that if their expressions were wrong, they would be killed on the spot by the light cavalry behind them. There was no need to doubt whether they dared to do so. The soldiers who had returned covered in blood, and had yet to fully adapt to the situation, only had the dignity of a general in their hearts. They did not care about anything else. Axes, pickaxes, I'll unload the goods from the truck. You guys load them up and help me share the load. Quick. A person in the crowd who was pedaling a tricycle said to the 2 people next to him. He began to dump the goods. The tricycle was designed with the function of flipping. With a press and a tilt, all the goods on the tricycle were dumped onto the ground. Ho, you want to pay for it. The goods are spoilt, the owner should take action. Fu Tu complained as he hurried over to reload the goods. Fine, I'll pay for it. I'm going to pull a big hero home. As long as I can pull him, I'll pay for it. Ho pushed the tricycle forward. A merchant who hired them to carry the goods saw Ho dumping the goods and his expression changed. He wanted to flare up but held it in. He did not dare to cause trouble at this time. When he heard Ho's undisguised words and saw Ho rushing forward, the merchant's expression changed again. He smiled and said softly to Axe and Pickaxes who were worried for Ho, It's fine, it's fine. It's just some goods. It's fine to throw them all away. Ho can't pull anyone, but I won't say anything. If he pulls anyone, I'll personally treat you to a drink. This is a good thing, a good thing. Axe and Pickaxe were stunned. Since when did the most unreasonable Cheng Dongjia become so easy to talk to? Did the sun rise from the west? Only Boss Cheng knew in his heart that Ho's reasoning was too good. Regardless of whether he managed to pull anyone, he could not find trouble with him. Otherwise, if word got out that he dealt with a person who wanted to pull a big hero and the big hero did not care, others would drown him with saliva. Even if he was not wrong to ask for compensation, no one would reason with him. Everyone was shocked by Shou Tu's sudden charge. The people from the protection team immediately surrounded Zhang Zhong and the other two. The 200 or so cavalrymen behind them saw the situation, and in the blink of an eye, they drew their bows and nocked their arrows. The arrows were as cold as ice and the bows were bent like a full moon. Their speed was fast and their movements were synchronized. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the people's eyes and nodded to Wang Wan and Wei Wei. Wang Wan waved her hand, and the people from the protection team turned around and made way. The cavalrymen behind them kept their arrows and bows in an orderly manner. The commoners who were watching the commotion were shocked again. The people in front were shocked by the sudden charge, while the people behind were shocked by the team of heroes. The instant change of movement was too beautiful. What are you doing? Zhang Zhong saw that his son and daughter-in-law did not overreact and knew that the person who rushed over would not hurt them. Otherwise, there would be no need for others. His son and daughter-in-law could kill this person on the spot. How could the bystanders know that when he went out, the most powerful bodyguards were not from the protection team, but the two children? Ho was full of courage earlier, but now he was so scared that he did not dare to speak. He thought about his identity and then thought about the other person's identity. He lowered his head and stammered, "Lord Zhang, I want to use the tricycle to pull you, the young master and the young lady. I think it's not bad, but there's a slope in front. I'm sorry to drag you down." Just as Ho was about to go back on his words and others thought that he was dreaming, Wang Wan smiled and agreed. Really? I'm not tired. I'm not tired at all. But you're a hero, I'll pull you if I pull you. You said it yourself, I'm a hero. I'm not paying to sit on your tricycle. Uncle Zhang Xiaobao, let's get on. Our hometown's tricycle is more comfortable than the horses from other places. Wang Wan helped Ho out of his predicament again. She took the lead and got on the tricycle. She did not care if the tricycle was dirty or not. Zhang Xiaobao sat beside Wang Wan, while Zhang Zhong sat opposite them. He nodded to Ho and said, "Let's go. We trust you. Cuckoo and Xiaobao can sit on our hometown's tricycle. It's better than riding outside. It's hard to ride on a foreign land's tricycle, but our hometown's tricycle can worry us." When Chu Tu saw the three of them get on the carriage and Governor Zhang's words, his eyes turned red. This trust made him feel warm. He lifted his leg and got on the carriage. Looking ahead, the originally tiring slope had become a flat road in his eyes. He realized that his body was filled with energy. Even if he rode to the top of the snow mountain, it wouldn't be a problem. The people around them were shocked once again, and then they revealed happy smiles. In their eyes, these three people who were so high that no one could compare with them sat on an ordinary tricycle, and didn't lose their dignity at all. They were cold to strangers and peaceful to their own people. The contrast between the two made people understand them better. They did not show the slightest bit of arrogance, and did not look down on people of lower status. This was Wing Prefecture's Governor Zhang Zhong and his family. The commoners thought as they looked at the blue sky with floating clouds. They had never felt so good before. "Oh, did you see that? Capable people will never show off their power to their own people. Only incompetent people will show off their power to people like us." Axehead said to Ho-Head as he moved the goods left behind by Ho-Head into his car. Ho nodded. "Isn't that so? Our county's small officials ask the bailiffs to scare us and talk about how powerful their servants are. They bully us. Look at Cuckoo. When she was in Tubo, she killed thousands of people with a wave of her hand. She did not look down on us. How can our county's small officials be compared to her?" Chung Dongjia's jaw dropped as he watched Ho Tu drag the three away. He blinked twice and smiled like a flower. He said to Ho Tu and Axe Tu, "Take your time, there's no rush. If you can't pull anymore, just throw the goods away. Don't tire yourself out. Remember to find Ho Tu when we get there. Let's have a meal together." Ho and Axe looked at Chung Dongjia in a new light. They felt that Chung Dongjia seemed to have changed into a different person. Ho thought of a prostitute and shook his head. "Chung Dongjia, it's fine as long as you pay me. I won't look for a woman. Otherwise, if my wife finds out, she'll twist my ear off." "Ha ha, you're so timid. You're afraid of your wife. Let's not talk about the pay today. How much is it? If you're really afraid of your wife, just order a few more dishes and put them in a lunchbox to bring back. Chung Dongjia patted Shosho's shoulder and said with a smile. Ax was puzzled. He looked at Chung Dongjia and asked carefully, Chung Dongjia, what are you? What am I? I used to think too highly of myself. Now that I've compared myself to Lord Zhang, Xiaobao and Cuckoo, I know how ridiculous I was. If you want people to respect you, it's useless to keep a straight face. People aren't fools. Even if you show respect on the surface, you don't know how to curse in your heart. Look at Cuckoo. Even if she takes a tricycle, who dares to look down on her? Everyone knows what's going on. Besides, we'll be working with her family in the future. We have to learn from her. When the weather gets cold, we'll look for you to work and give you extra pay. What's this called? Yes, it's said that Lord Zhang hung a piece of calligraphy in his study. It says, Great love is silent. When Chung Dongjia saw the scene just now, he suddenly understood many things. He said a few words to Ax and Ho. With his hands behind his back, he walked in front of them. He looked 10 years younger. When it was almost evening, Ho finally brought Zhang Zhong and the other two to the prefectural city. Although he was sweating profusely, he still had a lot of energy. On the way there, he even chatted with Zhang Zhong and the other two, which made him very excited. It wasn't just because he could talk to 3 people of high status. Most importantly, he said that it was tiring to ride uphill. Hero Cuckoo seriously promised that she would immediately come up with new technology to change the current tricycle's speed. She said something about using a large gear to drive a small gear on flat ground, and a small gear to drive a large gear on difficult terrain. Young Master Xiaobao also said something about changing the handrail into an upper and lower handrail. The upper handrail was horizontal and the lower handrail was concave. He didn't understand, but he knew that Cuckoo and Xiaobao really took him seriously as a coolie. They didn't rest when they returned home, but they started thinking of ways to make things easier for him. Zhang Zhong and the other two didn't get off the tricycle. Even when Ho's sweat soaked his clothes, they still sat on the tricycle. It wasn't that they didn't want to get off, but they couldn't. If they got off, Ho would be very disappointed. Chapter 651. When Xiaobao and Cuckoo saw Xiaobei and the rest, Xiaobei and the rest also saw the brothers and sisters in the car. They held hands and rushed forward, tumbling as they ran. Xiaobao and Cuckoo finally couldn't sit still. They jumped down from the car, ran to the front, and squatted down to kiss each and every one of them. Xiaobei's eyes were red as he threw himself into Xiaobao's arms. He panted and said, Brother, I was afraid that you and sister wouldn't come back. Isn't that so? I didn't want to come back, but when I thought about how Xiaobei was still waiting at home, how could I not come back? In the end, I taught them a lesson and came back. I also brought a lot of good things for Xiaobei, including food and toys. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed Xiaobei's face that was red from the wind, and said with an exaggerated expression, Really? Xiaobei immediately put on a smiling face. There were still tears in his eyes as he asked curiously, Really? I even caught a few big fish from the desert lake. I dried them and brought them back. Xiaobei, how do you want to eat them? Zhang Xiaobao said with certainty. Back then, he and Wang Wan were indeed thinking of bringing something back for the little ones. If the Tubo people knew about this, who knew how they would feel? The two of them actually considered bringing something back for their younger siblings when they were fighting. They were really looking down on others. Wang Wan's younger brother, Xiao Yuan, who was waiting for his brother to carry him, anxiously stood on the other side of Zhang Xiaobao and said, It's my turn, it's my turn. Make way, it's my turn. No, I'm just making some space. My brother asked me to eat fish. Make fish slices. Xiaobei originally didn't want to make way, but after thinking about it, he moved to the side and left half a space for Xiao Yuan. Zhang Xiaobao hugged Xiao Yuan again and nodded in agreement. Then make fish slices. Make big fish slices. Big fish. Yes, big fish slices. Let Xiao Yuan eat the fish bones. Xiaobei was happy and said while shaking his head, I'll let you have it. The bones are delicious too. Xiao Yuan argued. Why are you still squeezing me? Xiaobei snuggled into Zhang Xiaobao's arms. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were extremely busy. They hugged one, and kissed another. They had to tell every child that they had brought something good. Their words did not count. The members of the protection team even brought over all the food and toys that they had found in the desert. There were big dried fish, lake pearls, beautiful shells, grasshoppers woven with needlegrass, dried desert cistanche, and even 4 living animals, wild camels. He didn't know how Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had kept the 4 camels for their younger brothers and sisters. There were 2 males and 2 females, so they could ride the camels and play with them. They also brought back a lot of loot from the camels they killed. Zhang Xiaobao also didn't lack the cured ham. He used wild boar intestines to make smoked sausages. It gave people the feeling that the two of them didn't seem like they had just returned from a battle in Tubo. Instead, they seemed like they had just returned from a vacation. Old Man Pai and the other 2 also came over. Even if they didn't understand military warfare, they also understood how precious the things that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo brought back were. They were kept while they were fighting with their lives on the line. Cuckoo, don't you want to live anymore? If you want to go to war, then go to war. Why did you bring so many things? What are you trying to do? Old Man Pai was anxious and asked with his eyes wide open. Wang Wan smiled. Is there a conflict between going to war and bringing things? I brought more than 10 camels and gave them to Tubo on the way. So what if they are camels? They can't run on their own. Can't I tie them up and use a few horses to carry them? 2 of them even froze to death on the snowy mountains. I'll cook them later and give them to Xiao Bei and the others. Zhang Xiaobao also echoed from the side. Isn't that right? It's just dealing with Tubo. There's no need to be so serious. I'll cook the camel humps tomorrow. Everyone try it. That's right. Try it. Xiao Bei didn't know what it was like to bring a burden like camels to war. He also chimed in. Zhang Zhong watched from the side and thought that Xiao Bei and the others weren't worried about their brother and sister in vain. These 2 kids were too bold. It seemed that they dared to do anything and could do anything. Just to bring back something fun for Xiao Bei and the others, they actually took such a big risk and really faced the Tubo army. They could do whatever they wanted. Old Man Pai was speechless for a moment. He felt that he should release the news of Cuckoo and Xiao Bao's gifts to Tubo. Through these things they would inform Tubo. Do you see? This is the commander-in-chief of Izhou's logistics camp, Cuckoo. She sneaked in and ambushed you while you were surrounded. She even brought camels for her younger brothers and sisters to play with. Should the army that was preparing to intercept Pengzhou withdraw or not? Be careful that if Cuckoo was happy, she would bring her younger brothers and sisters to lead 100,000 elite soldiers and kill their way back. Chu, who was pulling the carriage, also saw the scene of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo reuniting with their family. He wiped the sweat that continuously flowed out from his tired body as he rushed over and laughed foolishly. While Wang Wan was enjoying her family, she turned her head and saw Chu. She hugged Xiao Bei and asked, Xiao Bei, this uncle brought brother, sister, and father back. He's very tired. What should we do? Xiao Bei was still holding a pearl in his hand. When he heard his sister's words, he raised his head and looked at Chu. He left his sister's embrace and walked forward. He raised the pearl with both hands and said to Chu, Thank you, uncle. Xiao Bei will give you this pearl. Chu didn't expect such a young child to be so sensible. He wanted to take the pearl, but he knew how precious it was. He wanted to refuse, but he couldn't face Xiao Bei's expectant gaze. He sweated even faster and said nervously, I don't want money. I'm willing to pull. In the future, as long as Little Master and Little Miss want to sit in my carriage, I'll pull. Take it. This isn't money. It's Xiao Bei's gratitude and blessing. In the future, if you encounter a problem that you can't solve, take this pearl out. Old Man Chang was more direct. He lifted Xiao Bei up and let Chu take the pearl. When Ho Tu obediently took the pearl, he still didn't fully understand the value of the pearl. Xiao Bei was the youngest princess of the 2 families. How could the blessing she gave be treated lightly? The meaning behind it was too great. Not to mention ordinary people. Even if they disturbed the emperor under impossible circumstances and offered him the pearl, Li Longji would still have to give face to the Zhang and Wang families after knowing the meaning behind the pearl. Zhang family and Wang family had contributed a lot to the Tang Empire. In the future, when Xiaobao and Cuckoo grew up, they would make good use of the pearl. Of course, even if Chu Tu offended someone in the future, the other party wouldn't care who gave him the pearl. Chu Tu could use the pearl to make a deal with Zhang family and Wang family. As long as he didn't rebel, even if he committed a crime of beheading, they could protect him. However, they had to look at the situation before deciding whether to protect him. Wang Wan didn't believe that an honest person like Chu Tu would take the initiative to offend others. In order to build a better reputation for the two families, she asked Xiao Bei to send the pearl. The soldiers who followed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan back were arranged to rest outside the city. Zhang Zhong was very happy. His son and daughter-in-law were back. The two of them were a little tanned, but they would recover after some rest. His heart was finally at ease. Hence, he took out the best wine and dishes at home to entertain the soldiers, merchants, and commoners who came to congratulate them. The people from the nearby villages also rushed down the mountain to celebrate with the soldiers. At the same time, they wanted to see how the warriors who fought in Tubo looked like, and ask about the specific situation. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan chatted with their families for a while before finding a place to sleep. They were tired. Not only did they have to follow the troops to battle, but they also had to be responsible for formulating battle plans. They had to be firm. Xiao Bei and the rest of the children didn't know how to have their own house, and they didn't join in the fun. They gathered outside their brother and sister's house, and got someone to wake them up to sleep. They were afraid that when they woke up, their brother and sister were gone. What should they do? They were still waiting to hear the story. Old Man Pai and the other two were also happy. They returned to their courtyard and started writing letters to be sent to the capital. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were back. Of course, they had to report the good news and give the imperial court some time to react. When the time came, they would be rewarded. They couldn't treat it as if nothing had happened, right? 3 days later, during the morning court session in the capital, Li Longji and the officials discussed one matter after another. Just as they were discussing the most important matter, the letter arrived. Li Longji attached great importance to the matter they were discussing. If they were to discuss the topic, it would be whether it was better to expand through military force or through commercial means when obtaining overseas resources. It was all because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had people find Luzon Island in the future. In the beginning, most people only thought that the island wasn't bad. It produced more grain and had copper and gold mines. However, as the merchants obtained more and more benefits from the island, they couldn't ignore it even if they didn't want to. In terms of enjoyment, the merchants brought back many good local specialties and made a huge profit. They were already selling them to the capital. In terms of the people's livelihood, the land there was not bad. The grain yield was high, and the crops could be harvested 3 times a year. In addition, the area was rich in resources, so even more people were tempted. If it was in the past, or in normal times, the imperial court wouldn't be able to control the transactions there. However, the ones who had the most say over there were the people from the Zhang family and Wang family. The Zhang family and Wang family were good. They weren't ambitious and knew when to advance and retreat. They didn't cause others to worry. More importantly, the Zhang family and Wang family were very capable. Any merchants who came to the island to make a fortune had to be monitored by the Zhang family and Wang family. The clever merchants thought of several ways to exploit loopholes, but they were useless under the watchful eyes of the Zhang family and Wang family. The officials couldn't help but admit that the Zhang family and Wang family were ancestors in this aspect. Although it seemed like a good method, it was embarrassing to use it on the Zhang family and Wang family. However, some time ago, news came back saying that as the natives came into contact more and more, they actually discovered many hostile tribes. This had to be dealt with. Thus, whether to solve this through military force or normal commercial means became a hot topic in the imperial court. In the end, everyone said that they were right, and everyone argued that they were right. It was very noisy. Li Longji listened from above. The more he listened, the more annoyed he became. He patted the armrest of the luxurious chair sent by the Zhang family and said, "If you really can't think of a solution, ask the Zhang family." The officials didn't know what to say for a moment. At this moment, Gao Lisher saw the hand gesture from his subordinate and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, there's news from Wing Prefecture." Chapter 652. Nowadays, the imperial court in the capital had developed a habit. No matter what they were discussing, as long as the pigeons from Izhou flew over, they would interrupt the discussion and wait for Gao Lisher to bring back the news. In fact, if there was a war in other places, they would do the same. However, news from Izhou was transmitted faster and more frequently. Not only was there news from the front line, but there was also a series of things Zhang Zhong had done. Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao were like spies who had infiltrated the enemy. They brazenly collected information and analyzed it. If they did not understand something, they would ask Zhang Zhong. Once they were done sorting out the information, they would immediately send it to the capital via pigeons. They would let the people in the capital see what kind of information could be used in other regions. Of course, there were also things that couldn't be said. For example, the Zhang family didn't report the fact that they used dead people for research. The officials in the imperial court didn't need others to report it. They already knew about it and tacitly allowed the Zhang family to do it secretly. However, they definitely couldn't say it out loud. It would be troublesome if the people knew about it. In their hearts, they didn't want to stop it. After all, it wasn't their own family members who were used for research. If it was their turn to be injured one day, they wouldn't expect the medical school to save them. Now 3 pigeons were sent at a time. Because 2 pigeons didn't arrive at the destination one time, there was a gap in the content of the next pigeon. The imperial court sent an urgent report from 800 li to ask about it. It was unknown whether the 2 pigeons were tired of flying and found a place to settle down, or were beaten up by something. Therefore, they added another pigeon to be safe. Li Longji stopped talking. Although the overseas expansion was important, it was far less important than Izhou. As long as the Zhang family in Izhou was there, they could ask his family about whether to use force or business to invade. Gao Lisher walked all the way back to the imperial court. Everyone could roughly guess from his expression. After losing news of Xiao Bao, Cuckoo, and the army a few days ago, Gao Lisher's face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. Today was different. Gao Lisher, who was already very handsome, became energetic. His eyebrows were raised and the corners of his mouth were raised. The officials understood that this was good news. "Do you have news about Cuckoo and Xiao Bao?" Li Longji sat on top and asked calmly. If he did not take the initiative to ask, then he would be truly calm. Now that he had asked, it meant that his heart was not like what he showed. Gao Lisher nodded but didn't say anything. It seemed that he hadn't recovered from his joy. A courtier beside him reminded him in a low voice, "General Gao, His Majesty is asking you a question." "Ah. Oh, Your Majesty, good news, we won." Gao Lisher was surprised and quickly replied. Li Longji nodded and didn't say anything, waiting for Gao Lisher to continue. All the officials were also waiting. They didn't know which side would win. After all, the Jiannan faction was fighting 2 wars at the same time. One was military, and the other was economic. The military was more direct, and the economic was not bad either. "Your Majesty, there's a report from Wing Province. Under the command of Xiao Bao, Jiannan's economic war has successfully defeated the Tubo Empire, swallowing all of the funds invested by the Tubo Empire. At the same time, the local merchants who cooperated with the Tubo Empire were implicated as well. The farmers have been able to earn some income, and the other commoners haven't suffered too much losses. The Zhang family is currently preparing to compensate the commoners who suffered from the high price of grain." When Gao Lisher reported the news to the crowd, an official by the side pouted and grumbled. "The Zhang family is just being kind. The commoners were the ones who went to buy the grain themselves, so why should they care about them? Don't they know that they are helping the Tubo Empire by buying the grain themselves?" As soon as he finished speaking, Gao Lisher immediately replied, "That's not right." Before the dust settled, how could the commoners know that Jiannan is in the midst of a war that can kill without seeing blood? Since we can't eliminate the Tubo Empire before the war, we have to take responsibility for the commoners. Indeed. Continue. Li Longji spoke up to help Gao Lisher. "Your Majesty, according to the data compiled by the Zhang family, The Tubo Empire and the merchants invested roughly 400,000 strings of cash to launch an economic war against Jiannan. Due to the leverage effect, the capital invested was increased by 5 times, and Jiannan City suffered a blow of nearly 2 million strings of cash. The Zhang family invested 25 strings of cash to create half of the Tubo Empire's leverage in the form of futures contracts. At the same time, through technology and public opinion, they managed to limit the amount of money invested by the Tubo Empire and the merchants to a small extent. Furthermore, they cooperated with the local merchants to solidify the reputation of the tricycles in the market. Using the excuse that the newly renovated roads were suitable for the tricycles, they launched a direct attack on the Tubo Empire's livestock acquisition method. The concrete operation plan will be sent to you later. This economic war is being commanded by Xiao Bao from the Tubo Empire. When he returned, he said that he had too many regrets that he wasn't able to control the situation as he wished. Gao Lishir tried his best to explain with a calm tone. As for the various terms, the officials in the royal court knew them, and they had no choice but to learn them. Li Longji nodded. Wei Wei nodded. He still didn't understand the details of the matter, and he would have to wait for the news to reach the capital. This was the first time he was witnessing what a true economic war was like, and he was certain that the situation wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. An official by the side suddenly asked, "General Gao, did the news mention where the money invested by the Tubo Empire and the merchants working with them went? A portion of it was taken by those with grain, but it can't be that they took 400,000 strings of cash, right? Also, where did the money spent by the local merchants go?" "That wasn't mentioned, but it should be taken by the Zhang family," Gao Lishir replied. "If the Zhang family took it, who would the money belong to in the end?" the official asked. The others couldn't help but have similar thoughts as well. Indeed, would the money belong to the Zhang family in the end? Wouldn't the Zhang family think that they would be able to reap benefits just by participating in an economic war? Wouldn't that make the Zhang family think that they could play around with it in the future? Gao Lishir didn't answer the question directly. Instead, he turned to Li Longji and said, "Your Majesty, Cuckoo has returned with a great victory. She launched a series of sneak attacks on the Tubo Empire's territory, burned countless Tubo rations, killed countless enemies, and annihilated the Tubo Empire's cavalrymen before returning from the snowy mountains. As for the details, we'll know once the battle report arrives." This sneak attack was also to coordinate with Xiao Bao's economic war. Tubo is in a precarious situation this winter, and Xiao Bao intends to use the excess rations in Jiannan to trade for cheap livestock in Tubo. The livestock will be used in Jiannan province's transportation and farming areas, and they will only be charged a small fee, which will be supplemented by the local medical hall in the future. The officials finally understood. The Zhang family had given the benefits to the entire Jiannan province, and the ones who received the money were the commoners and local officials. The Zhang family didn't ask for the money themselves. The official who asked the question earlier didn't know what to say. Similarly, Li Longji wasn't clear on the details of Wang Wan's battle, so he could only await further news. That means to say that Tubo is currently lacking in rations, and the morale of their troops has been reduced to 0? They won't be able to invade the borders for the next few years. Officials, when will Zhang Zhong return, and where should we arrange for him? Also, how should we reward Cuckoo and Xiao Bao? Li Longji pondered for a moment before asking the officials. This time, the royal court was in an uproar. There were all kinds of opinions. Some said that Wang Wan should be allowed to lead more troops to attack Tubo instead of using rations to trade for livestock. After all, wouldn't they be able to obtain livestock after conquering Tubo? Some said that Zhang Zhong should be allowed to return to the capital as an idle official. After all, he had too many matters to deal with, and he needed to rest for a while. In other words, they were saying that Zhang Zhong's reputation was growing more and more, and they should restrain him a little. There were also some who suggested that Zhang Zhong should continue to be the provincial governor of a province, and arrange for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to be local officials. In short, there were all kinds of opinions, and some even suggested that Xiao Bao participate in next year's imperial examinations. Because Zhang Zhong was the provincial governor, it wouldn't be a problem to give Xiao Bao the position of high scholar, and they could save the trouble of taking the examinations. If possible, they would allow Xiao Bao to be an official in the royal court. Li Longji was also considering this problem. Zhang Zhong's position was very simple to him. He just needed to arrange a place for him, and it wouldn't be a problem even if he had to go to the capital. The main thing was Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. There was no need to mention the capabilities of the two of them. One of them was good at war, and even when Tubo's military strength was less than 4 times the enemy's, they could only use defensive measures. How arrogant was this? No one dared to oppose the arrangement of a general with real power. Xiao Bao didn't seem to have killed many Tubo soldiers directly, but in the economic war in Jiannan province, he was able to win so easily even when he was commanding from afar. He definitely wasn't bad in terms of economy, and he was able to predict the enemy's plans. He was able to defeat the person who was ranked 11th on the Monopoly game board that Tubo arranged. If they arranged for him to be the county magistrate, he would definitely be able to do a good job. Besides, he also had the help of his family. However, the 2 children were really too young. According to the rules, once they were assigned a position, they couldn't be in the same place as their family. He didn't know if they were willing or not. If they weren't willing, he couldn't do anything to the 2 children. During the debate, time passed quickly, and it was already past the usual morning court session. If they continued to debate like this, they probably wouldn't be able to eat their meals. Gao Lishur didn't participate in the debate. He was thinking about when he could meet Xiao Bao and Cuckoo in person, and let Xiao Bao be his adopted son. He was worried that Xiao Bao wouldn't accept. After waiting for a while, seeing that the debate still hadn't reached a conclusion, Gao Lishur moved closer to Li Longji and quietly said, "Your Majesty, why don't we wait until after the new year to ask Zhang Zhong's family and see what they plan to do? There's one more thing. Give the Zhang family some benefits. The Zhang family asked for land in Jiannan province or Hebei province. We should think about this. Should we give it to them or not? Give. If we don't give, how can we be at ease? But I heard that the Zhang family actually doesn't intend to give them land in Jiannan province. They want to go to Hebei province, but I don't want to give them land in Hebei province. They want to raise horses, and Hebei province is too close to the sea. Their sea transportation is also very big. What should we do?" Li Longji thought of the news that came last time. The Zhang family wanted a place to raise horses, and they also wanted a desert. The desert was easy to deal with because it wasn't Tang's land. The Zhang family also specially trained people who could adapt to the cold on the snowy mountains, which meant that they wanted to go to Hebei province. This was difficult. He couldn't use people so casually, otherwise, it would easily lead to a big mistake. Gao Lishur didn't know what to say. The main thing was that he didn't understand the Zhang family's plan. Why did they want to go to Hebei province? Li Longji didn't insist on Gao Lishur's idea. He just said casually. After thinking about it, he said, "Since they want to raise horses, let's arrange for them to go to Feng province. It's closer to the capital than Hebei province, and it's not close to the sea. The population is small, so even if the Zhang family wants to do something, they can't do it. What do you think?" Gao Lishur nodded. In fact, he didn't want to let the Zhang family get a land there, which would make the imperial court too stingy. If there was a heavy snowfall, the road would be blocked, and it would be inconvenient to communicate with here. Even if the Zhang family sent people there, the news would be blocked. When the emperor said so, it meant that he had almost made a decision. Gao Lishur's objection didn't have much effect. Besides, the Zhang family had the ability to make money. They didn't lack a slightly bad place. Xiao Bao and the others wouldn't go to Feng province in person. Li Longji seemed to feel that it was a little bad, so he said, "You can give them a land in Feng province." At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still telling stories to the little ones at home in Yizhou. They told the stories of the battlefield in Tubo, as if they were fairy tales. They didn't know that there was already a fierce fight in the capital over their family's matter. They also didn't know that before the follow-up measures were used, Li Longji had already arranged the land in Feng province according to their plan. On this day, the army of the Tang Dynasty came to the desert. There was a lot of sand in the desert, and it didn't hurt at all when you fell on it. Unlike other deserts, there was a lake in the desert. The lake water was clear and blue, and there were big shells in the lake. When the Tang army arrived in the desert, there was no water, so they drank from the lake. When there was no food, they picked shells in the lake. However, the lake water was very deep. Some people in the Tang army didn't know how to swim, so they could only watch others pick shells to eat. They were anxious at the side. Zhang Xiaobao told the little ones about the desert. He tried his best to remove the bloody places, and focused on describing the scenery. Then wouldn't it be fine if the people who knew how to swim picked up shells and gave them to the people who didn't know how to swim? Hearing this, Xiaobei expressed his thoughts. Xiaobei is really smart. As Xiaobei said, the people who knew how to swim helped the people who didn't know how to swim. In the end, everyone was full. When they were eating, they found beautiful pearls in the shells. They didn't secretly hide them. Instead, they gave them to Sister Cuckoo, and Sister Cuckoo kept them. She kept them and brought them back for us. I know. When I swim in the desert in the future, I will also find pearls for them. Xiaobei's reaction was very fast. He immediately knew who the pearls belonged to. When he spoke, he even made a swimming action. The other little ones also clamored to swim in the desert. They also knew how to swim. Usually, when the weather was hot, they played in the water and had long learned how to swim. All of them were good swimmers. Even if there were some man-made waves, they wouldn't drown. Yes, Xiaobei is right. In the future, when you swim in the desert, not in the desert, but in the desert lake, remember to pick up shells. These shells, after a long time, people will come out of them. Let's see who can find them. Zhang Xiaobao was exhausted from telling stories. When telling stories to the little ones, he had to adjust his mentality to the level of a little one. He had to let himself see the world from the perspective of a little one. Otherwise, the little ones wouldn't understand. Xiaobei nodded vigorously and asked, "What happened after that?" Then a big fish came out of the lake. It wanted to eat the person who picked the shells. You saw the big fish, right? The big fish in the water are very powerful. Such a big fish, even if I went in, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. I could only run. If I ran too slow, I would be eaten by the big fish. Zhang Xiaobao casually gestured the length of the fish. The group of little ones nodded. They did see the dried fish that they brought back. The biggest one was more than 5 feet long. It was frightening. Then what happened? Xiaozhu asked worriedly. Then, what are we? We are the invincible Tang army. If one person couldn't beat it, 2 people would go. If 2 people couldn't beat it, 10 people would go. In the end, more than 200 of us rushed up. When the big fish saw that it was not good, it wanted to run away. Guess did it run away? Zhang Xiaobao said with a mighty look. No. The little ones shook their heads. Yes, it didn't run away. More than 200 of us surrounded it. Someone said to the big fish that it was wrong. We just wanted to eat some shells. If it rushed out and hurt us, we would eat it. So everyone rushed up and killed the big fish that was not convinced. We were not willing to eat the meat and left it for you. When Zhang Xiaobao was telling the story, he waved his fists and kicked to make the story more vivid. In fact, 200 people were not needed at all. For people of the protection team went down and pierced through the fish. It didn't take long for the fish to float up. The little ones didn't know how powerful their family's number 0 protection team was. They really thought that their brother and sister mobilized 200 people for a fish. Xiaobei pursed his lips and said, "The big fish was too bad. It didn't let me eat. Serves it right. I ate it. Then what happened? How did I hide? Then didn't we kill the big fish later? We found that the lake was very big, so we let those who didn't know how to swim learn how to swim. We swam in the water to avoid the Tubo scouts. As for me, in order to see where the Tubo people were, I let the water cloud take me to the sky. I flew in the sky, and when there was a chance, I let you all fly once. I flew to the blue sky, and was with the white cloud. The white cloud turned into a little lamb, and wanted to play with me. The next moment, it turned into a steamed bun for me to eat. At that time, I wanted to bring some back for you. But I could only eat and couldn't take. So Little young master, little miss, the Tubo people came. They said that they agreed to exchange livestock for food. They want us to discuss the price with them. A person came from outside the courtyard and reported to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan was watching Zhang Xiaobao make up a story. When she heard that the Tubo people came, she said to the person, "Tell the Tubo people to wait. Xiaobao and I will go and talk to them. We are busy telling stories to our younger brothers and sisters. They don't know what's important." Xiaobao, continue. "Why didn't you bring back the steamed bun?" Xiaobei and the others also thought that the Tubo people didn't know what was important. They were listening to stories. Zhang Xiaobao also thought so. Telling stories to their younger brothers and sisters was a big matter. The Tubo people asked them to wait. They couldn't delay the important matter. He continued. Then I asked White Cloud, "How can I let my younger brothers and sisters eat it?" White Cloud told me a way to make cotton candy. "I will make it for you all later." The little ones couldn't help but stick out their tongues and lick their lips. After waiting for a while, they followed their older brother and sister to make cotton candy. They found a craftsman to assemble the equipment. It was very simple. They just needed to heat and rotate it. Then they put sugar into the box with holes that could produce centrifugal force. They took a pair of chopsticks and caught it. After a while, a big cotton candy came out. After the little ones ate one by one, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took a few more cotton candy to meet the Tubo people. The Tubo people sent over was a person from the Kimukahu tribe who was relatively knowledgeable about economics. His name was Kimujiji. He was a cautious person, and usually didn't show his abilities. He was the leader of the negotiations. One was to talk about war, and the other was to talk about exchanging livestock for food. However, when he told others, he only talked about exchanging livestock, and didn't talk about war. The Tubo people who came with him didn't understand why he did this. They arrived at Ijo the day before yesterday. Ever since they knew that Cuckoo came back after crossing the snow, the Tubo troops outside the pass all retreated. They couldn't afford to waste more food. Zhang Zhong stole some of the rations, and Wang Wan burned a portion of the rations. Most of the rations were used on the march. In order to capture Wang Wan, the Tubo army had mobilized too many soldiers. The rations were constantly being depleted. If they didn't think of a solution soon, many people would starve to death this winter. They would only be able to replenish their rations during spring. Kimujiji could speak the language of the Great Tang very fluently. He also studied the culture of the Great Tang. After arriving here, he didn't rush to meet the negotiators. Instead, he asked for a meeting after gathering a lot of information from the local people, and made preparations. He thought that the Great Tang would send a large team to negotiate with him. There would be many experienced people in the team. However, after he revealed his identity, the reaction of the people in Ijo was too cold. They didn't take him seriously at all. After all, he was representing a country. After waiting for 2 hours, someone sent a message saying that the people negotiating with him were Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who entered Tubo this time. However, the two of them were busy with very important business. They told stories to their younger siblings, and asked them to wait for a while. They would talk after they finished. Some of the people Kimujiji brought were unwilling. They shouted to express their protest, and even threatened to send troops if they didn't come to Tubo. However, they were stopped by Kimujiji. Although he was also very angry in his heart, he didn't dare to let his subordinates completely say that they were going to send troops. If the other party was unhappy and didn't want to talk, then this trip would be in vain. This time, not only was he going to exchange the food back, he also had another plan. After waiting for another 3.5 hours, it was already past lunchtime. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who had finished telling stories to the little ones and made cotton candy, came over with the cotton candy. When the two of them came over, they only brought the 2 servant girls who accompanied them, and the old man Pai who was already sitting there silently. They didn't bring any more guards. There were 7 people from Tubo, led by Kimujiji. When they saw that the 2 people who came in were the 2 children who messed up their country, some of them wanted to kill the little girl right away. However, when this person's murderous gaze met with Cuckoo's eyes, he immediately retracted his gaze. At this time, Cuckoo no longer had the doting expression she had when she was playing with her younger siblings. There was a cold smile at the corner of her mouth, her pupils contracted, and her cute face revealed a layer of coldness. Her gloomy expression was even more severe than a rainy day. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, was facing the Tubo people from the side. He stood in front of Wang Wan and squinted his eyes. When he saw the unfriendly gazes from the other side, he chuckled and said, "Ha! What? You want to kill all of us here? I'll warn you, if you show that kind of expression again, I'll bury you in the Tang Empire. Just with you guys? I'm not looking down on you guys, but you guys are really not worthy of my attention. Killing you guys now is as easy as crushing an ant. If you're not convinced, look at me again." Xiaobao, don't scare them. We've already beaten them up like that, so it's not right to scare them anymore. Give them some face. Grandpa Bai, Grandpa Zhang, Grandpa Yao, you guys are here too. That's great. I'll give you guys some cotton candy. I made it especially for Xiaobei and the rest just now. Wang Wan also attacked the confidence of the Tubo people. Her attitude clearly showed that she did not put the 7 people from Tubo in her eyes. She walked in front of Old Man Pai and the other 2 and passed the cotton candy to them. Old Man Pai also cooperated and took it. He asked, "Are Xiaobei and the rest asleep?" "They're going to sleep immediately. Otherwise, Xiaobao and I won't have time to care about other small matters. It's just some people from Tubo dying. How can it be more important than Xiaobei and the rest being happy?" Wang Wan answered with a smile. Then her expression changed. She turned around and passed the extra cotton candy in her hand to Komujiji. "This is for you. Try the good things from Tang Empire. Go back and talk about it. Let your Tubo people know about it." Komujiji looked at Wang Wan and held back the anger in his heart. He took the cotton candy and squeezed out a smile. "When I go to Tubo to greet General Cuckoo's family, I'll definitely try the good things from Tang Empire. Not bad. I'm very satisfied with your attitude. Now you can tell me why you guys are here." Wang Wan sat down on the chair Zhang Xiaobao pulled out. She licked the cotton candy in her hand and smacked her lips. Then she said to Komujiji, "If the 6 people behind Komujiji had not been warned by Zhang Xiaobao's words just now, they would have rushed up and used force to regain their dignity." Komujiji took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. He said, "This time I have 2 things to say. First, that is... Wait, you haven't told me your name. Tell me first. Tubo won't send a nameless person here, right?" Before Komujiji finished, Wang Wan interrupted him and asked, "I'm Komujiji." Komujiji's brewing mood disappeared again. "Oh, it's you. Are you with Kamukahu? Your names are similar. He was defeated by me. Fortunately, he didn't come. Otherwise, I would ask him if he still dares to come." Wang Wan continued. Komujiji's hands under the table clenched into fists. Then he loosened them and nodded. "We are from the same unit. But names have nothing to do with each other. The war is over. Let's not talk about the battlefield. I have 2 things to talk about. First, that is the situation of the war. I, Tubo, want to ask if the Tang Empire is willing to maintain the relationship between the 2 countries." "Wait a minute. You are contradicting yourself. You just said that the war is over. If you don't talk about the battlefield, why are you asking about the situation of the war? By the way, what's your name again? I was thinking about how to make the cotton candy more delicious and forgot. Please say it again." "Sorry." Wang Wan said to Komujiji apologetically. "My name is Komujiji. I said the situation of the war because we are not on the battlefield now. I want to know the Tang Empire you represent. You and Komuku are not biological brothers, right? It looks very similar. You're not lying to me?" Wang Wan once again interrupted Komujiji. "Can't you guys continue the negotiations? If you don't want to talk, we will go back and come back with the army." One of Komujiji's men couldn't help but stare at her and ask. Wang Wan looked at him contemptuously and nodded. "Okay. Tubo, you are welcome to come and talk with me. I am going to go to war again and ask you about the art of war. But this time, I won't come with less than 10,000 light cavalry. I will mobilize all the soldiers of Jiannan Circuit and send them to Tubo. Please, I won't see you off." Komujiji knew that he was in trouble when he heard his men's words. Sure enough, Wang Wan's reaction was too strong. He hurriedly scolded his men. "Shut up. Otherwise, I will report this to my superiors when we go back." Komujiji was furious. Why couldn't the men he brought bear it? Why did they say that they would send troops to Masha? Were they afraid of this? The people beside him also knew that they made a mistake. They lowered their heads and didn't say anything. Kumujiji turned back and said to Wang Wan, "Don't take what I said just now to heart. To be honest, Tubo doesn't want to fight anymore. After all, this year isn't that good. What I want to say is, can the great Tang have a truce with Tubo and compensate for Tubo's losses? Do you have any shame? Why should we compensate Tubo? Even if you don't want to fight, I still want to fight. I still don't have enough fun killing people. In the past, you always used the tone of a victor when invading the border. You still want to do that this year? Then I will fight until Tubo gives up. If you don't believe me, we can try. I will immediately mobilize the army. I am going to send out 100,000 soldiers. Let's see how many people Tubo will send to encircle us. You don't want to fight anymore? Sure, you have to admit your mistake first. You shouldn't have harmed the people of Wangjiang. You have to compensate for the losses of Shuzhou and Wangjiang. As for the exact amount of compensation, we will talk about it after Xiaobao calculates it. Second, compensate for the losses of the Great Tang in this war, including the little tricks you guys played behind the scenes, and the self-righteous economic war. You have to compensate for both. As for the exact amount, we will talk about it after Xiaobao calculates it. Third, send more of your princesses to the Great Tang. Marry them to us to show your sincerity. Send 3 of them first. Do you have 3 of them? It won't do if there are too few of them. We have to think of something. Fourth, hand over the main culprit who supported this war. I don't care who you push the blame to. You have to hand over one of them, and let the Great Tang conduct a public trial. That's all I have to say about the war. If you don't agree, I will immediately send troops. Also, the few of you have to stay behind. Don't think of going back. I am like this and don't dare to do things by the rules. Do you have anything to add? Wang Wan's attitude was very firm. It was to the extent that she was bullying them. The 7 people from Tubo all stared at Wang Wan with their eyes wide open. They didn't expect this last to be so belligerent. She wanted to start a fight at the slightest disagreement. If it wasn't for the fact that she was famous in Tubo, they would have thought that she was joking. But it wasn't the case now. If she really had such capabilities, when she sent out 100,000 troops, how many Tubo troops would be able to contend against her? After hearing Wang Wan's words, Kumujiji was worried sick. This little girl was indeed not easy to talk to. She would say whatever she thought and didn't care about reason at all. But this little girl was different from other children. She really had the ability to lead troops to war and even win. Thinking of this, Kumujiji said to Wang Wan, "We can talk about it slowly. There's no need to rush. I don't have the authority to decide on this matter. Why don't we wait and talk about another matter first?" "Okay, I'm not in a hurry. Xiaobei and the rest should be asleep already. I will talk with you for a while, and won't delay telling them stories. If we can't finish talking about the war today, we will talk about it tomorrow. If we can't finish talking about it tomorrow, we will continue to postpone it until spring. I will also take a break. If the wild vegetables come out in spring, and we still haven't finished talking about it, I will lead the troops to talk to the people who can really talk to you. When we reach your capital city, I think everyone will know what to talk about. When the wild vegetables come out, Xiaobao, what do you think?" Wang Wan pinched a piece of cotton candy and threw it into her mouth. She smacked her lips and said to Kumujiji. In the end, she asked Zhang Xiaobao a question. Zhang Xiaobao was calculating how much compensation he would need from the other side. If they won the war and didn't earn a sum of money from the war, wouldn't it be a loss? It was not in line with his and Cuckoo's style of doing things. Hearing Wang Wan's question, he said, "I'm not in a hurry. Really, I'm not in a hurry at all. Anyway, we have enough food this year, and we don't lack animals. Let's drag it out until spring next year. That's the time when we don't have enough food. Cuckoo, you fight on your own. Don't worry about not having enough food. I will prepare for you from other places. We have a clear division of labor. I will be in charge of logistics, and you will be in charge of killing. As long as you dare to kill, I will guarantee that you will have no worries. You are my future wife. How can I let my wife suffer? Come, give me a kiss." Zhang Xiaobao said and moved his face closer. Wang Wan smiled sweetly and really kissed Zhang Xiaobao's face. Xiaobao, I know you are the best. You know me, and you know that I like to kill people. In the future, when I want to hit people, you have to do the same. Okay, if I don't help my wife, who else can I help? Give me another kiss. Zhang Xiaobao replied. Just when Kumu Jiji and the others were angry, Old Man Chang finally couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect Xiaobao and Cuckoo to be so interesting. The two countries were negotiating, not at home. Even if they were at home, he didn't see the two children kissing each other. What did they think this place was? What did they think Tubo was? Kumu Jiji had to admit that the two children in front of him were very compatible. But the problem was that this wasn't the place to flirt. Thus he said, Cuckoo and Xiaobao are indeed a pair of beauties. Let's talk about exchanging Tubo's livestock for Tang's food first. Thank you for the compliment. Wang Wan smiled and thanked him. We are talking about exchanging things. I can't make this decision. Xiaobao, it's your turn. Don't calculate. They are not prepared to talk about war compensation now. Zhang Xiaobao pushed the big abacus aside and nodded. Okay, I will do it. That. Kumu Jiji, right? How do you want to exchange? How about this? I will tell you my conditions first, and let you take the initiative. What do you think? Kumu Jiji slapped his head. He was going crazy. Why did he have to deal with these two during the negotiation? Take the initiative? When did he ever take the initiative? Since they brought it up and said it first, then he should say it. Kumu Jiji signaled Zhang Xiaobao to speak. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be excited. He rubbed his hands and his eyes lit up. He coughed and said, because you Tubo stirred up trouble behind the scenes, the economy of our Jiannan circuit was almost destroyed and the entire financial system was damaged. Therefore, in the spirit of pacifism, we resolutely decided to help our neighbor despite the instability of our financial system. But we really can't take out too much food. For example, we don't have any rice. For example, we don't have any wheat. We can only provide you with corn. Before coming here, I believe you have already understood many things. Even if you don't, it's fine. Let me tell you. Because you have controlled the price of food in our Jiannan circuit, our days are not good. In addition, you have also attacked the livestock industry at the same time, causing the livestock in our Jiannan circuit to reach the point of not having enough to eat. Most of the corn will be fed to the livestock, and the rest will be given to you. A bushel of corn is 50 copper coins. How about exchanging livestock for it? Kumu Jiji and the others were dumbfounded. These words coming from the mouth of a child made them feel very ridiculous. But this child was also very unreasonable. With such an excuse and such a price, he still scolded them. Did he have no shame? What kind of corn could cost 50 copper coins a bushel? Could it be eaten by the emperor in the capital? The people behind Kumu Jiji wanted to refute, but they were stopped by Kumu Jiji. He had his own ideas. He said, to be honest, 50 copper coins is really expensive. But since you also don't have it easy, then we'll go with this price. Because of the war, our Tubo's food and fodder are also a lot less. It's not easy to raise livestock. A donkey, even if it's 15 copper coins, a horse pulling a carriage, even if it's 20 copper coins. How about it? So cheap? A donkey and an ordinary horse pulling a carriage only cost this much? Zhang Xiaobao asked in surprise. Yes. Kumu Jiji responded with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao said with a sad expression, it's cheap, but it's a pity that the livestock we originally planned to exchange for isn't for work. We already have a tricycle, so we want to kill them for meat. If it's really this price, then it's better to get meat from elsewhere. We can't afford to raise them. Livestock eat too much. Since it's like this, we'll use the extra corn to exchange for livestock in our country. You wait for 2 months. If we still have some left, then we'll give it to you for free. We can't let your people starve to death. Zhang Xiaobao's words were very helpless, but the meaning he expressed was not helpless at all. That was, he was not exchanging, and he very tactfully refused. Kumu Jiji, who thought that the other party would bargain, and when the time came, he would also bargain. At this time, he was dumbfounded. The other party actually directly refused. The two maids who were in charge of pouring tea at the side resisted the urge to laugh. They looked at Kumujiji and the others with eyes full of pity. They thought in their hearts, "You guys can't negotiate with anyone, but you have to meet the young master and young lady. You guys can't use the method you thought of previously, right?" Old Man Pai and the other two were very comfortable at the side. They originally thought that this negotiation would be very difficult, because Tubo had negotiated with Tang many times before, and every time, they could not achieve better results. Sometimes, they would show a strong attitude, but the other party would not compromise at all. The main reason was that both sides were adults, and they knew that war was not a child's play. If they could make peace, then they would. Unless they were confident, then they would take the risk of threatening with war. Unexpectedly, when it was two children, the other party was helpless. Children were not like adults who thought about many things. If they felt that something was right, they would do it according to their own ideas. If an adult threatened to send troops, the Tubo people would not believe it. However, if Cuckoo said to send troops, there was absolutely nothing to doubt. This was because she did not consider other things at all, and did not consider the internal situation of the country. She just wanted to fight. Amazing, this was really too amazing. The three old men had this thought in their minds at the same time. They did not think that Cuckoo and Xiaobao did not know the price of war. However, the two children clearly knew in their hearts, but they still used the advantage of their age to put pressure on the Tubo people, and the effect was so good. However, how would Mujiji know the ability of Cuckoo and Xiaobao? He was indeed frightened. The two children were really easy to do things, so he asked tentatively, "Then how much do you think it should be to eat meat?" Eat meat? Eating meat is not that expensive, and it's not like you have to eat donkeys and horses. Do you have cows? If you have cows, the price will be more expensive. A normal cow can be sold to you for 15 strings of coins. After all, the cows of Tang Dynasty are not that delicious, and the imperial court is in charge of them. If it's a donkey or an ordinary horse, it's useless. We can use poultry as a substitute. Our family does this, so it's very easy to raise them. If we sell a chicken at my farmstead, it's worth 20 copper coins and weighs about 10 caddies. One caddy is only 2 copper coins. How heavy can a donkey be? I'll give you more 200 caddies, that is 400 copper coins. How heavy can a horse be? I'll give you 400 caddies, and I'll give you 600 caddies for a cow. Isn't this the price? A donkey is basically 400 copper coins, a horse is 800 copper coins, and a cow is 1,200 copper coins. This is also an extra 200 copper coins. This is still an extra calculation. How about it? Do you want to exchange? When the time comes, the exact weight will have to be weighed. Of course, there is one more thing, and I have to compensate you. After all, when you ship it here, sometimes the weight will be reduced. Based on our friendship, I am willing to pay you this money. A copper coin for a caddy is not a small amount, right? Zhang Xiaobao gave such a price. Using the price of a chicken, the price of livestock was based on the weight. In Zhangjia Zhuangzi of Sanshui County, the internal price of a cow could be sold for 20 copper coins. That was a lot. Who would buy someone else's cow for no reason? How is this possible? That is a donkey and a cow. Not to mention the use, even the taste is different. Kumujiji argued. He definitely could not sell it at such a price. How is the taste different? Indeed, it is not as delicious as chicken. My family's smoked chicken and roasted chicken are not ordinary things. That taste, I will treat you to a taste later. As long as you can make the taste of donkey and cow to such a degree, I will give you a higher price. Zhang Xiaobao also retorted. Kumujiji and the other 7 people had already tasted it. In Izhou, there was a shop that specialized in smoking and roasting chicken. He did not know what was added, but the taste was really good, especially the pine bone chicken. When he grabbed a leg and shook it slightly, the meat would fall off. However, this was not because the chicken was really delicious. It was because the method used to make it was different. The seasonings used were also different. Even if it was livestock, if the same method was used, the taste would only be better. Kumujiji knew clearly in his heart, but he could not say it. He knew that once he said it, the other party would have a reason to lower the price. First, the other party would raise the price of his livestock. Then they would talk about the cost of production. In the end, it might even be lower than the current price. In a negotiation, one naturally had to pay attention to the method. However, Kumujiji immediately put this matter aside and said to Wang Wan, "The price is too low. Let's talk about the war. How about this? Tubo will compensate Zhang Xiaobao's family 100,000 strings of coins, and give Tang 50,000 strings of coins. Then, Tang will no longer send troops to Tubo." "That won't do. It's too little. You have to compensate my family 200,000 strings of coins and compensate my soldiers 100,000 strings of coins. Otherwise, Tang will continue to fight." Wang Wan shook her head and refused Kumujiji. She stated her conditions. It did not sound like much. In total, it was only 300,000 strings of coins. For Tubo, 300,000 strings of coins could be easily taken out, but Kumujiji's purpose was not this. He asked Wang Wan again, "Then we will forget about what you said? When Tubo really pays the money, you can't go back on your words. Write a written agreement." "Okay, Xiaobao, write it." Wang Wan agreed without any hesitation. Zhang Xiaobao wrote a contract. The contents were what Wang Wan said. There were 2 copies, and both parties pressed their fingerprints. Kumujiji happily put it away. Just as he was about to not mention the second matter, and leave to carry out the next step of the plan, Wang Wan smiled at him and said, "Kumujiji, it's written on the contract." "But Mujiji, it's already written on the agreement. Within a month, Tubo has to send the item over. It has to reach 300,000 strings of coins. I have the agreement in my hands. If you dare to lie to me, if I don't organize an army of 300,000 to slaughter Tubo, I will hang myself at the entrance of Pengzhou. I promise to support you. Even if I have to sell all the businesses in my family, I will raise enough money for you to attack Tubo. At most, I will kill all the Tubo people and find another profitable business for my family. If I can't do it, I will hang myself there with you." Zhang Xiaobao supported her and said. When the 2 of them said this, Kumujiji's 7 people, including Old Man Pai and the other 2 people, were all moved. Their words were too ruthless. They were using their lives as a bet to threaten the other party to see if they would send troops. Kumujiji smiled awkwardly and said, "You don't have to do this, right?" "Yes, I will do what I say. Just like when I entered Tubo and killed tens of thousands of your people, my words are final. No one can change them." Wang Wan stared into Kumujiji's eyes and said word by word, "Okay, I will definitely give you 300,000 strings of coins. I will send it over within a month." Kumujiji didn't dare to doubt this little girl's determination. She was so big that she could do anything. As soon as Kumujiji agreed, Wang Wan smiled and turned to Old Man Pai and said, "Grandpa Bai, quickly go to the capital and send a letter. Tell them that I have made the decision for the imperial court. When the time comes, all 200,000 strings of coins will be given to the imperial court. My family doesn't want a single coin." Old Man Pai nodded with a smile and said to Wang Wan, "Cuckoo, you don't have to do this. Even if your family keeps all 300,000 strings of coins, the imperial court won't say anything. The emperor is a famous monarch. The portraits of you and Xiao Bao are pasted in the emperor's study. When you see the emperor, make some good food for the emperor. Even if you immediately mobilize all the soldiers in Jiannan Circuit, the emperor will still happily agree. You may not know this, but when you are leading the soldiers outside, the imperial court is waiting for news of your return every day. Even when the imperial court has stopped discussing matters, they still have to take care of the news from Izhou first." "Yes, that's right. Cuckoo, you don't know how many people like you and Xiao Bao. If you agree, so be it. So what if you represent the imperial court? No one will punish you." Old Man Yao also helped to say. Wang Wan revealed a brilliant smile. She turned to the dumbfounded Kumujiji and said, "Did you hear that? Hurry up and give me the money. You want to play tricks with me? You are still too inexperienced. Who am I? I am a little girl. Who will lower themselves to the same level as a little girl?" Kumujiji stared blankly at Wang Wan. He was too surprised. He was surprised by the imperial court's indulgence of Wang Wan. He was also surprised by Wang Wan's intelligence. She actually knew what he was going to do next. Yes, he wanted to sow discord through this negotiation, so that the emperor of the Tang Empire would no longer believe in Wang Wan. He even wanted to punish the Zhang family and the Wang family. If he could make the Zhang family and the Wang family hate him, and leave the Tang Empire, that would be even better. But what he didn't expect was that his plan was seen through as soon as it started. The news he got from the other two was unbelievable. The imperial court of the Tang Empire had already recognized Cuckoo and Xiaobao. According to this, he had to give them the 300,000 strings of coins. If he didn't give them the money, Cuckoo would promise to send troops. If he was in her position, he would do the same. While Kumu Gigi was thinking about this, Wang Wan, who had finished eating the cotton candy, yawned and said, "Let's call it a day. You send the letter back and ask. Tomorrow we will discuss the matter of exchanging livestock for food." After that, Wang Wan got up and left. Zhang Xiaobao followed her. Old Man Pai and the other two also left. Only 2 maids were responsible for arranging a place for Kumu Gigi and the 7 people to rest. The money for the rest was free. The Zhang family and the Wang family would bear it themselves. After Kumu Gigi returned to the place that the Zhang family arranged for him, he began to prepare the letter. After dipping the brush in ink, he suddenly didn't know what to write. Should he write that he failed in the negotiation and was schemed against by the other party when he was scheming against them, causing Tubo to lose 300,000 strings of coins? In the past, when he was complaining about the Japanese invaders, he didn't say that he would compensate the Tang Empire even if they were defeated. Today he had to give such a result? It was too late to regret. The handprint was already on the letter. If he didn't give the money, Tubo would be attacked by the Tang Empire's army this winter. Moreover, Cuckoo would be the one leading the army. After thinking for a while, Kumu Gigi felt that he had made a mistake. He sighed helplessly and began to write on the paper. The other 6 people who followed him here waited obediently at the side. Today they had seen how difficult the negotiation was. Cuckoo and Xiaobao didn't care about anything else. As long as they thought of something, they would immediately say it. They were even willing to sell all of their properties for money to attack the Tang Empire. They had never seen or even heard of such opponents before. However, the imperial court might admit that they were unlucky. They were really unlucky today. The person who looked at Wang Wan murderously at the beginning muttered, "If we had known, we would have killed the 2 of them. As long as they don't lead the army, why should we be afraid of them? Even if we die in the end." At this moment, Kumu Gigi, who had finished writing the letter, vented his anger on the person who spoke. "Then why didn't you do anything just now? Don't be so scared that you shrank back. Now you still dare to talk about this matter? Kill, kill. Do you really think that the 2 of them are so easy to kill? There's no need for you to do anything. If you had looked at them one more time, you would have been dead by now. They don't care about the matter of not killing the envoys when 2 countries are at war." Kumu Gigi always felt that he was in danger when he sat opposite Cuckoo. He didn't know where the danger came from, but he didn't dare to do anything casually. After scolding the person who followed him, he began to think about how to exchange the livestock of Tubo for more food. Otherwise, many people would starve to death this winter. At that time, the Tang Empire would take advantage of the lack of manpower to send troops again. Tubo wouldn't have the strength to fight back. The person who was scolded didn't say anything. Kumu Gigi said something that he didn't want to mention. At that time, when he was stared at by Zhang Xiaobao, he felt that his soul was about to leave. It was as if he would be killed in the next moment. The other 5 people also became silent. They were very helpless about the result of today's negotiation. They couldn't help much and couldn't show the Tubo's imposing manner. The other party kept saying that they would send troops. What imposing manner was there to speak of? After Kumu Gigi sent the letter away, he felt as if he had just been fished out of the water. His clothes were drenched in sweat. Chapter 653. Let's not talk about giving you 100,000 soldiers. If you go out now and only bring 100 people with you, do you think Tubo will immediately mobilize the entire country? Just based on your reputation, you can make the Tubo Empire mobilize 50,000 soldiers for you. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao knew that Wang Wan had thought it through. If Wang Wan didn't say it herself, then he would say it himself. He would praise her and make her happy. Sure enough, Wang Wan was happy. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Actually, you're not bad. When everyone looks at you now, they only think that you've won the economic war. They don't know that a real strategist, even in the financial field, will not admit that winning the other party in their own country is a victory. How can a person like you be willing to defend passively?" It was Zhang Xiaobao, Mi Fan, and the rest who took action with your plan. This time, if they don't cause Tubo's economy to regress by 10 years, I don't believe you will be satisfied. I estimate that within a month after spring plowing, your plan will be able to produce results that will make people stop. I am also looking forward to that moment. Don't talk nonsense. I've never thought of invading other people. I just sent people over to help the local economy develop. As for what mistakes there were, that's because I didn't consider them. But my intentions were good, so you can't deny it. Didn't Grandpa Bai and the others want to see what the advanced style was? Great Tang doesn't have a chance, but Tubo can. I will set up a bank in Tubo and start investing. I will let that so-called expert in Tubo know how much leverage can be used in finance. So what if it's Tubo? 100 years ago, someone had shaken up the British financial system. I've never thought that I'm worse than him. Since we can't fight in the same era, I'll fulfill my dream here, Zhang Xiaobao said with regret. He really wanted to compete with the experts of the past, but in the era he lived in, there was no such situation. Everyone learned and became smarter, and the economic structure became more and more stable. This stability was not a fixed pattern, but a flowing pattern. The people of the world finally realized that the economic aspect was the same as the aspect of war. There was no fixed pattern, but when all the methods were used, it was not easy to succeed. Otherwise, how could he have swindled so little money? Although for many people in the world, that amount of money was already shocking, he was not satisfied. If he wanted to complete the things he wanted to build in his country, he still needed a lot more. Wang Wan laughed twice. She held Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and said to him, "You are too bad. You went to other countries to make trouble. It's not that the Tubo masters don't understand the principle of leverage. It's just that you didn't give them a chance. When they wanted to touch salt, which is the most important thing to the people's livelihood, you guarded it so strictly. When the other party finally managed to generate several times the leverage in terms of food and livestock through the bank, you immediately used irregular means to offset it. You used 250,000 strings of cash to fight against an opponent with 400,000 strings of cash, and swallowed all the money invested by the opponent. How can you still say such things?" Zhang Xiaobao sighed. "It's not that I want to deal with him, but he's gone too far. Besides, why should I treat him as an opponent? Look at the way he operates. Is that how he uses financial leverage? Needless to say, if you weren't busy with the war at that time, you would have dealt with him. He didn't even secretly set up a plan, so how could he make a move on everything related to the people's livelihood at the same time? Why didn't he hide in secret first? He really thought that the Great Tang was his people. He didn't take in the early stage and put on a strong offensive posture right from the start. He moved the food, the livestock, the salt and oil. Can oil make him move? Lighting needs oil, eating needs oil. If he really succeeds, it will produce a kind of effect. That is, the people who originally planted food will no longer plant food, and will instead plant rapes. Perhaps he doesn't know what's going to happen next. He's only focused on attacking Jiannan Circuit's current economic system. If he really manages to control the price of oil, the price of food will definitely be affected for a long period of time. How much effort will I have to put in if I want to make a move? There's no need to talk about salt. There can't be too big of a fluctuation in this industry. To be honest, I have never thought of waging an all-out war with 400,000 strings of cash like him. If I wasn't in a hurry to obtain results, I wouldn't have made a move. It's enough to have Xin deal with him." Wang Wan tilted her head and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. She liked Zhang Xiaobao's current appearance the most. His arrogance in the field of economics wasn't the slightest bit inferior to her leading the army. Similarly, with a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of heads would fall to the ground. Most importantly, Zhang Xiaobao clearly had greater abilities, but he didn't display them in order to give the great Tang a chance to advance step by step. Many times, it was easy to succeed by stepping on the pain of others, but it wasn't easy to give up for the happiness of others. Xiaobao, sometimes I think that if, and I'm saying if, I wasn't working in the Special Second Bureau and was by your side, swindling people together with you, and then using the money we swindled on the children of our country, wouldn't it be great? The moment you saved that child, the one who made a move wasn't you, but me. That pine hair bomb definitely wouldn't have exploded. It's too easy to deal with an ordinary person. Wang Wan sighed emotionally to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao forcefully shook his head. Don't. If you had made a move at that time, I would have definitely captured him. I don't have much time left. Don't look at how formidable I am. My body is already finished due to the lack of nutrition and survival experience. At that time, there was no other way, not even if I knew the reason. I don't regret it one bit. That idiot really thought that I would give him money. In truth, I couldn't withdraw any money from those banknotes. They were already empty. The happiest thing was that I brought you along. At the very least, I won't be lonely in this life. You're too selfish. I still have family. There are many nights when I dream of them, but I know that they won't show it, because their position doesn't allow it. Sometimes they accept their fate, sometimes they deliberately forget. But who told me to choose that profession? I still have one regret, which is that you didn't say anything. If you wanted to escape, tell me how to do it. I've already arranged for many people to monitor you. Speaking of this topic, Wang Wan was no longer as happy as before. Perhaps heroes also had their own regrets. Although she had no choice but to do so, if she was given another chance to choose, she would still have to do so. Zhang Xiaobao was very unwilling to talk about this matter. In the past he had mentioned one person, which was Wang Wan's colleague, who had been bribed. But there were many more people. If Wang Wan knew that there were not many people she could trust around her, it would be too cruel. Today, when he heard Wang Wan ask, Zhang Xiaobao hesitated for a moment and said, "Half of your snipers are my people. In positions that you can't imagine, there are also my snipers. They are not your people. Before we came over, do you remember that there was a pregnant woman beside that criminal? She didn't have a child's belly under her clothes, but a large amount of colorless and odorless anesthetic. There was also a silenced pistol and a 50-meter fixed target. She was 100% accurate. I know this, but I didn't arrange it. There was a beggar with a broken leg under her feet. That beggar's leg was broken because he joined the mercenary army and experienced dozens of wars. There was also the child who pulled him away. That child is 40 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "I understand. So there are not many people I can trust around me. Well, I believe that they are definitely not having a good time. Don't you think so? My family will help me find out. Those who received benefits from you, don't even think about escaping. I sacrificed myself. No matter how strong the other party's backing is, they will have to compromise with my family. After all, I paid the price with my life." Wang Wan finally understood. Her family would be there to avenge her. Everyone who wasn't loyal to her would be finished. Perhaps they would die of illness, or perhaps they would get into an accident after they were removed from their positions. The only thing she didn't expect was that Zhang Xiaobao would do it himself under such circumstances. Could it be that Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about his own life at that time? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had nothing else to talk about. When they talked about the past, Mujiji and the others were in a very uncomfortable situation. They wanted to get in touch with the servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family, so that they could get more information from the servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family. However, they failed. The servants of the Zhang family and the Wang family always smiled at them, but this kind of smile was of no help to them. No matter what they asked, the servants would smile at them and say that they couldn't tell them, and that they should think of a solution by themselves. It seemed to be a very considerate answer, but they didn't feel considerate at all. "I really can't think of a good way now. Since I sent you here to cooperate with me, shouldn't you say something?" Mujiji, who couldn't think of a solution, said to the people who came with him. The 6 of them looked at each other. It was not that they didn't want to say anything, but they really couldn't say anything. They came here in advance to inquire about information, but the information they got was of no use to them at all. Mu Jiji looked at the people he brought with him and said helplessly, "Well, let's not talk about this first. Let's talk about the Zhang family and the Wang family. If we can't find a breakthrough in other aspects, think of a way to break through from the inside of the Zhang family and the Wang family. I don't believe that they are really a piece of iron." The other 6 people still had the same expression. They really didn't know much about the Zhang family and the Wang family. The information they got before was known to everyone. As for the internal information, there was no information at all. Chapter 654. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan deliberately delayed the negotiations for several days. Half a month after the arrival of the Tubo people, a large amount of snow fell. If it weren't for the fact that the roads in Izhou were well built, they would have been sealed off. The Tubo people didn't have it easy either. Only Izhou had a small snowflake. Before the people of Izhou could enjoy it, it turned into a light drizzle. Mu Jiji didn't stay idle during this period of time. He asked the people to gather information about the Zhang family and Wang family. He also sent gifts to the original 11 local Yamen officials, asking them to help him think of a solution. The people weren't willing to pay attention to the Tubo people. If they weren't here to negotiate, they would probably tear Mu Jiji and the others apart. After receiving the gifts, they started talking about the Zhang family and Wang family. Everyone said good things and praised the Zhang family and Wang family. Obviously, this kind of praise wasn't what Mu Jiji wanted to know. He wanted to get information from the local people about the rebellion of the Zhang family and Wang family. When the time came, he would play dirty tricks on Zhang Zhong. The people of the Yamen received even more gifts. Mu Jiji gave pearls, jade wares and exquisite gold and silver ornaments. Every time he gave something, the other party would accept it. However, when it came to the work, they were full of helplessness. They talked about how hard they worked and how they were reprimanded. In any case, they didn't succeed, and the gifts weren't returned. The moment the heavy snow fell, Mu Jiji knew he couldn't delay any longer. It wasn't easy for him to dig up grass now. He could only send someone to find Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan to discuss the matter of exchanging livestock for food. Zhang Xiaobao also felt that the time was about right. He began to give a normal price, the kind that was relatively low. He lowered the price of all livestock by 50%, and only calculated based on the weight of the animals after they were delivered. He didn't calculate by head. He also didn't want the animals that were dead. Who knew if they died of illness? What if people fell ill after eating them? In terms of grain, they still only sold millet, saying that it was good for people to eat it. Those who were in confinement all ate millet and eggs. The price was also very generously reduced to 40 copper coins per bushel. Just as Mu was about to rejoice, Zhang Xiaobao brought up the matter of the transportation fees. The war had just ended, so it was impossible for the Tubo people to rush in all at once. They needed to hand over the goods at the border of Pengzhou. This section of the road was not easy to travel now. It was snowing, so they would need to increase the transportation fees by 20%, which amounted to 48 copper coins per bushel. This price was already 3 times the normal price, but Mu Jiji reluctantly agreed. He was afraid that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would suddenly go back on their word. He didn't know if the written agreement would be useful or not, so he quickly sent people back to Tufan to collect livestock. After calculating, it would cost a lot of money to transport the livestock over, and it would cost a lot more to transport the grain back. If he really waited for the Tubo people to eat it, the price of a bushel of millet would be estimated to be more than 100 copper coins. However, Mu Jiji wasn't sure if the Tubo people would agree, but a notice had already been posted in Izhou. They would only accept millet and use old grain to exchange for new grain. The exchange rate was 1:2. That was to say, a caddy of old millet could be exchanged for a caddy of more than 3 taels of new grain. Once the notice was posted, the people who heard the news and felt that the transportation fee was worth it thought that Zhang Zhong had gone crazy. If there was new grain, who would want to eat old grain? If other people exchanged grain, they would use it to brew wine. They would use less new grain to exchange for more old grain. However, Zhang Zhong was different. He had transferred to a place closer to Izhou. Even if he added the transportation fee, he would only receive an extra 3 taels of grain, which was exactly the same as the original amount. But Mu Jiji also found out about this matter. He went to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said that he wanted to exchange for new grain and not old grain. Zhang Xiaobao took out the contract and showed it to him. There was a sentence on the contract. Tubo is willing to use the specific standard of livestock recognized by the Great Tang in exchange for the grain stored by the Great Tang after a certain number of people in and around Izhou of the Great Tang's Jiannan province in the past year. In other words, Zhang Xiaobao had added punctuation marks according to the Great Tang's habits. However, he didn't add any punctuation marks in this sentence because he was afraid that someone would find fault with it. In order to ensure that there would be no mistakes, it was also written at the bottom of the contract that the Great Tang had the final right to interpret the contract. Mu Jiji looked at the line of words and thought for a while. He finally understood what it meant. At the beginning, it meant that there had to be at least enough grain for the Great Tang's people to eat before the rest could be exchanged with him. After all, some people had stored grain at home. When he read the contract, he understood it this way. However, he didn't know that it didn't mean this at all. Wasn't the previous year's grain just old grain? So it turned out that they wanted to exchange this portion for him? Then the price would be even higher. After the people of Tufan got the result of Mu Jiji's negotiation, it was too expensive to exchange grain. However, considering that they only had to compensate 300,000 strings of coins, and they didn't have to worry about Cuckoo attacking them again when she was in Izhou, the price seemed to be lower. Although they didn't pay in the past, they didn't pay even if they couldn't win. This time was different. In the past, there was no one as ruthless as Cuckoo to lead an army. She had to wait until her family left Izhou and she recovered. She had to survive through this winter. Therefore, she agreed to collect the livestock. The better ones would be kept, and the average ones would be sent to the Great Tang. She also reminded them not to forget to give the livestock more water before the exchange. If they didn't drink, they had to force them to drink. In the exchange of goods between the two countries, some places were far away and it would take at least a month to complete. This was considered fast. By that time it would be the new year. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also sincerely wished Mu Jiji well, hoping that the people of Tufan could have a good new year. Suddenly, the people of Tufan could live and work in peace. The two countries could maintain peaceful coexistence, strengthen economic exchanges, and work together to create a harmonious and stable border environment. Mu Jiji finally knew why the people of War were so afraid of Cuckoo. She was too shameless. If you didn't beat me, kill my people, and burn my grain, would I not have any grain to eat? They also had to strengthen economic exchanges. According to this exchange, if there were 2 more times, Tufan wouldn't need anyone to fight. They would be gone. Old Man Pai and the other 2 followed them at the beginning. They were afraid that Xiaobao and Cuckoo wouldn't know how to negotiate and would be at a disadvantage. Later on, the 3 old men were busy with their own things and didn't care about the 2 at all. They realized that even if they were the ones negotiating with Tufan, they wouldn't be able to reach the level of the 2 children. During the negotiation, they would talk back to each other and then slap the table and glare at each other. They would say that it wasn't easy to gather food, and then say that they would gather enough food and send it over immediately. The words that came out of their mouth didn't sound like what a normal person would say. Normal people wouldn't be able to do this. Don't worry, they were completely relieved. In the future, if there was anything that needed to be negotiated, they would let the 2 children go. Moreover, the 2 children were smart. Before they went to Tufan to fight, they didn't know how to speak the Tufan language. After they came back, they could speak the Tufan language fluently, and could even speak the dialects of different regions. One moment, they would speak the local language, and the next moment, they would speak the Tufan language. Whenever they spoke the Tufan language, they were trying to build feelings. When did feelings appear on the negotiation table? It seems that when I always looked for them and asked them to give something in the past, it wasn't that they couldn't win against me in terms of words. Instead, they gave in to me and followed my words. They are really good children and very considerate. Old Man Pai watched Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's negotiation with others. He finally realized that whenever he said something, the two children would immediately follow his words. In the end, they would suffer a small loss. It wasn't that they didn't understand, but that they did it on purpose. Old Man Chang also admitted, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are really good. They are gentle to their own people and cold to outsiders. This time, the imperial court has decreed that they don't want the 300,000 string of cash. It seems that the Zhang family and the Wang family don't want it either. I wonder how they will arrange it. Will they use it to compensate for the old grain with the new grain? Probably, but I can't be sure. We'll know when we see. Old Man Yao couldn't be sure. After all, the Zhang family had too many tricks up their sleeves. No one knew what they wanted to achieve in the end. Li Longji also received detailed information about the war and economic war in the capital. There was also the roasted camel hump personally made by Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan for him and Gao Lishir. Anyway, they were going to the military rest stop, so it didn't matter if they brought some food. They sealed the food to prevent people from poisoning them on the way. The two of them stayed in a house built by Li Sun next to Xingqing Palace. They enjoyed the camel hump warmed by the charcoal fire, while reading the information. Gao Lishir's wish had finally come true. Xiao Bao was willing to acknowledge him as his godfather. Firstly, it was because there was someone in the imperial court who was easy to talk to. Secondly, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had a very good opinion of Gao Lishir. At the very least, it was better than Li Bai, who had yet to be found. Wang Wan felt that since Li Bai had great ambitions and wanted to participate in politics, he should drink less. If he really needed to manage something, he would be called upon at a critical moment. Who could stand that? Gao Lishir held Zhang Xiaobao's letter and read it over and over again. First, he agreed to it. When they returned to the capital, he would settle everything. Acknowledging someone as his godfather wasn't something that could be done just by saying it. It was quite troublesome. Zhang Xiaobao's ultimate goal was to influence the entire Tang Empire through Gao Lishir. It was too time-consuming to constantly work hard to change the current situation from below. Li Longji looked at the happy Gao Lishir and felt a little envious. He also wanted to acknowledge Xiao Bao or Cuckoo as his godchild or princess, but he knew that he couldn't do that now. After reading the letter a few times, Gao Lishir checked the food box to make sure that no one else had touched it. Then he checked the mark sent by the pigeon and confirmed that it was really made by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. He didn't ask anyone to test the poison and directly opened the box to taste it himself. After waiting for an hour and seeing that nothing was wrong, he said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, you should try it too. It's delicious, better than the food made by the imperial chefs in the palace." Seeing that Gao Lishir wasn't poisoned, Li Longji picked up his chopsticks and picked up some food from the food box. Before putting it into his mouth, he said, "It's naturally delicious for you, Lishir. Even if they send you rocks, you can still crack a little bit. In the future, you can't mix state and family affairs together." After giving Gao Lishir a warning, Li Longji put the food into his mouth and savored it carefully. Then he said to Gao Lishir, "When they return to the capital, bring them to the palace to play. There are many ingredients in the imperial kitchen." Gao Lishir, who was eating with Li Longji, immediately understood. He scooped up the food in his bowl and ate it carefully. Then he stopped eating and gave the rest to Li Longji. Chapter 655. Li Longji ate quite well this time. Originally, the amount was enough for 2 people, but he ate all of it. He was so full that he took Dashan pills and chewed them in his mouth. He even looked at the empty food box with a reluctant expression. Gao Lishir only ate and didn't eat. He kept smelling the food and swallowed his saliva. He decided to find some time to go to Savant's restaurant to see if it was similar. That restaurant was also owned by the Zhang family. The palace maid beside them brought tea. The two of them slowly drank the tea and looked at the information that was sent. From time to time, they would talk about what they would do if they were in the same situation. Someone apologized and spread the news that the emperor ate the food that was sent to Ezhou. In a short time, many people who were paying attention to this matter knew about it. When the ministers heard about it, they didn't have any reaction. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo specially prepared the food that was sent over, so how could they dare to poison it? Besides, the emperor couldn't eat it first. The concubines in the palace didn't feel anything when they heard about it. Wasn't the emperor fine now? However, the people in the imperial kitchen were different. It was their job to make food for the emperor, but now it was taken away by someone else. Immediately, the eunuch in charge of the imperial kitchen came to find him. He didn't dare to enter the hall and just cried silently outside. The main reason was that he was under too much pressure. It was fine if it was someone else who sent the food, but it was only the Zhang family. The Zhang family had a restaurant in the capital. If the emperor was happy and replaced the current imperial kitchen with the Zhang families, how would he manage it in the future? Could he buy an egg for 5 copper coins? Li Longji and Gao Lishir didn't know that someone was crying in grievance. They were still looking at the information and discussing matters. The people guarding outside saw that someone was crying, but they couldn't report it. The emperor was in a happy mood, and they couldn't afford to be punished if they disturbed his mood. It wasn't a big matter for the country. The little eunuch could only secretly wipe his tears. He wondered what exactly made the emperor eat, and whether the imperial kitchen should also make some. Lishir, what do you think should be done when Zhang Zhong comes back after the new year? We can't just leave Xiao Bao and Cuckoo at home, Li Longji said to Gao Lishir after looking through the documents. Your Majesty, this subject believes that Zhang Zhong will be going to Luoyang to stay there for at least a year. Otherwise, if he returns to the capital, it will be very easy for him to not be able to handle the various matters. As for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, they can be placed in Luoyang as minor officials. It would be fine even if they were county magistrates. Gao Lishir considered for a moment before replying. Li Longji nodded in approval of the first arrangement. However, he had his own thoughts about the second arrangement. Why don't we arrange for you to move to Wanyan County, which is located at the foot of the capital? That way, you can spend more time there. Don't the Zhang family and the Wang family still have 4 children? There's nothing to be afraid of even if there are only 2 of them. This subject feels that we should ask them when we return. Gao Lishir also wanted to arrange for the 2 children to be by his side, but he was worried that their families wouldn't agree. Li Longji didn't say anything this time. It could be considered that he approved of Gao Lishir's suggestion. At this moment, the sky outside turned dark again. A gust of wind mixed with snowflakes blew in through the open doors of the hall. The snowflakes melted in the air and disappeared without a trace. Li Longji felt the sudden coolness and sized up the house that his nephew had built for him. He sighed. I wonder if there will be heavy snow this year. If it continues for a few days, some places will be affected. If the snow in Izhou is also heavy, they might not be able to set off immediately after the new year. Why don't we let them return now to avoid the snow blocking the road? It's better to ask first. Otherwise, we will have to spend the new year on the road. Gao Lishir was worried that the road would be uncomfortable. The matter that Li Longji and Gao Lishir discussed was quickly sent to Izhou via a military relay station. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan secretly ordered people to work. The 2 of them didn't want to spend the 300,000 strings of coins they earned on the local people. They already had other ways to take care of the local people. The money had other uses. Xiaobao, when do you think they will find out? I'm afraid that they won't agree. Wang Wan held a snowball and gently rubbed it on her hand as she asked Zhang Xiaobao. I don't believe that they will be so kind as to make a deal. When the time comes, we will be even. It's winter. I hope that the snow will be more uniform this year and not fall in one place. When the time comes, some places will be short of water, and some will be affected by disasters. We can't just stand by and watch. We don't have enough manpower, so we have to part with some of them, and it will affect the arrangements when we return. Zhang Xiaobao was afraid of the muddy road when the snow melted, especially in this place. When they returned, they couldn't take the Yellow River or the Yangtze River by boat. Then let's go back early. Don't spend the new year here. We still have to make other arrangements. It's okay to spend the new year on the road. We can spend the new year together. Anywhere is fine. Wang Wan always felt that it was a waste of time here. If they really wanted to help the local people, they didn't need to put all of their people in Izhou. They could just arrange a few people in the inner courtyard. After a while, the officials in Jiannan Circuit would no longer listen to their orders. While the two of them were discussing, Gao Lisher's letter came, asking if they were willing to go back early. It was exactly what the two of them wanted. They left the work to others and hurried back to discuss it. No matter where the family would spend the new year, Xiaobao and Cuckoo would be the main focus. This would provide a very good environment for the two of them to develop. When the people in Izhou heard that they were leaving, they didn't want to do anything. Normally, they wouldn't ask Zhang Zhong to do anything for them. As long as Zhang Zhong stayed in Izhou, they would feel relieved. Now that they heard that Zhang Zhong was going to leave after the new year, the clan leaders came over to persuade him. Zhang Zhong had already made his decision. He could only comfort the clan leaders that they could look for him when they had time, or they could find some time to come over themselves. Usually, as long as they had people, they would send news here and bring the local specialties for everyone to taste. When the people saw that they couldn't keep Zhang Zhong, they also knew that he had a better future. They began to prepare things at home so that they could bring along Zhang Zhong. They also sent the young people in their families to follow Zhang Zhong. One of them was to listen to Zhang Zhong's words and assist him, and the other was to have the opportunity to learn more things. However, Mu Jiji was also watching from Izhou. When he heard that the Zhang family and Wang family were going to leave, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. However, when he saw how popular Zhang Zhong was with the people, he no longer doubted Demon Fiend Cuckoo's words. With the support of the people, she could definitely form an army in a short time with just a call. Coupled with the financial resources of the two families, they could fight whenever they wanted. Chang, whose two children had just learned how to speak. They also knew how to wash their hands before eating and after playing. This made him hesitate. In the end, he gritted his teeth and allowed Zhang Zhong to bring them along. Lu Zhou was the son that Zhang Zhong had acknowledged, and he usually treated them like his own family. He believed that the two children would not be wronged. When the preparations for leaving were almost done, the livestock from Tubo had also arrived at the pass and were waiting to be handed over. They were even escorted by 5,000 soldiers. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao only brought along a group of commoners who were in charge of transporting grain before they set off. Shuiyin followed them as well. There were no other guards. Mu Jiji looked at them and secretly praised them for their courage. After a few days, the grain that was transported first arrived at the pass. Wang Wan, accompanied by Zhang Xiaobao, rode out and faced the 5,000 soldiers of Tubo head-on. Step by step, the 5,000 soldiers retreated step by step. They did not dare to look directly at Wang Wan. This made the commoners in charge of transporting grain extremely excited. This was how awe-inspiring they were. On the other hand, the commoners in charge of transporting the livestock were speechless. They were a 5,000-strong army, but they were suppressed by the other party's 2 people and 2 horses. What else could they say? Wang Wan nodded in satisfaction. She said to Mu Jiji, "We can start the exchange now. Weigh them." First, they would weigh the grain. After weighing the grain that arrived first, they would weigh the livestock according to the price. All the livestock that were weighed would be fed medicine by the commoners of Great Tang. When he saw this, Mu Jiji was stunned. After the corresponding livestock was changed, before he could ask, he smelled a foul stench that assailed his nostrils. Whether it was the livestock that were changed or not, most of them had diarrhea. Mu Jiji was shocked. He did not know that the livestock that was to be exchanged had been fed water. No wonder Cuckoo asked people to feed them medicine. It turned out that she already knew. What should he do? Mu Jiji looked at Wang Wan worriedly. Wang Wan returned him a smile. This matter is like this. Our Tubo livestock. It's okay. I can understand. We can understand each other. Get someone to feed them medicine. I brought a lot of medicine this time. Wang Wan still had a smile on her face. Mu Jiji did not know if it was true or not. He looked at Wang Wan carefully and found that she did not seem to be angry. Only then did he wipe the sweat that had just seeped out of his forehead. He also smiled and said, "Yes, we can understand each other. It should be like this. Feed them, immediately feed them." With a command, the Tubo commoners took the medicine from the Great Tang people and began to feed the livestock. When the medicine was being fed, a Tubo commoner opened a bag of rice. After taking a look, he shouted to Mujiji, "They mixed sand in the rice. This handful of rice, at least 10% of it is sand." However, Mujiji was stunned when he heard that. He turned to look at Wang Wan, wanting an explanation. Wang Wan pointed at the animals that were still being fed medicine and said, "Maybe it's because the Tang Empire's people have been eating rice for too long. I'm going to lose money this time. I used new grains to exchange for it. Let's understand each other. Otherwise, you're 5,000 soldiers." I understand. They kept it for too long. They really kept it for too long. The army is afraid that people will cause trouble. During peacetime, they are not used for war. Mujiji understood many things. He knew why Wang Wan did not pursue the matter of the animals being fed water. He also knew why they were willing to increase the price by 10% to exchange the old grain with the new grain. It was too deceptive. How could they pass all the sand out of the rice? Who asked them to feed the animals water? How did Wang Wan and the rest know? If 10% of the rice was mixed with sand, how much water could the animals be fed? If they did not, he could ask for an explanation. Now it looked like they were even, but it was not the case at all. The Tubo people also considered the fact that their side was filled with water, so they could only accept it helplessly. They only hoped that the Tubo people would choose first. Otherwise, when the grains were distributed, they would not be able to eat enough. The animals were forced to drink water and had diarrhea. Some of them died, while others were fine. The dead Wang Wan was also bought, but the price was reduced by half. They only gave some money for the meat. When the living animals were almost treated, all the food was transported over. In the end, in these few days, the animals became even thinner. They did not manage to exchange all the grains that were transported over. When they came over, they weighed the grains and it was just enough to exchange all the grains prepared by the Great Tang. Firstly, the weight of the animals was not enough. There were also some that died. Secondly, the grains from the Great Tang increased by 10%. Similarly, the animals also needed 10% more. Mujiji looked at the remaining grains, and then looked at Wang Wan. What should he do? I am a good person. Since the grains have been transported over, I can't possibly take them back. It is not easy for the Tubo people. How about this? I see that there are a few hundred horses and weapons in your army. Give them all to me. The rest of the grains will be yours. If you are not willing to exchange, you can also take them away. It is just that there are a lot of grains but not enough horses. Be careful if you encounter bandits on the road. I can't possibly personally lead the light cavalry to protect you. Wang Wan stood from the Tubo people's point of view and helped to think of a solution. She had a pained expression as she wanted to exchange for the Tubo people's horses and weapons. She did not want the leather armor on her as it was not valuable. However, Mujiji did not have the final say. He could only look for the general and ask if he was willing to exchange. He told the general about Wang Wan's threat. The general helplessly nodded his head and agreed. He did not dare to make a move on Wang Wan now. If he could not make Wang Wan stay, then he would have to wait for revenge. The soldiers left their weapons and horses behind and joined the grain transport team. When they walked back, all of them lowered their heads. Wang Wan also commanded the people to walk back to Pingzhou City. All of them puffed out their chests. The officials from Pengzhou also stood on the city walls and watched. They were worried that the Tubo people would capture Cuckoo and Xiaobao. They did not expect that everything would go smoothly, and they would be able to return. When they found out that the Tubo people left behind their weapons and horses, the officials were speechless. De Montfiens were indeed De Montfiens. When Wang Wan entered the city, the officials surrounded her. They wanted to take a good look at this little lass. Wang Wan said sadly to the officials, we've lost. We only had 20% of our grain left in exchange for these weapons and horses. Sigh. I was too soft-hearted, and was afraid that the Tubo people would not have enough to eat. The officials were stunned for a moment. Finally, someone reacted and advised, that's right. Cuckoo is soft-hearted and is a good person. The Tubo people should be grateful to Cuckoo. The other officials agreed one after another. Zhang Xiaobao saw that Wang Wan still wanted to say something, so he nudged her. All right, let's go back quickly. We're going to leave soon. Don't waste time. What is there to be grateful to you for? Mixing in 10% of the sand? Or using that broken grain to exchange for a lot of ironware and horses? Let's go. The weapons need to be melted into iron ingots first, so that they can be made into farming tools. A knife can be made into 3 or 4 kitchen knives. A dozen arrowheads can be made into a plow knife. Wang Wan thought about it and agreed. They were in a hurry, so she informed the officials and hurried back to Yizhou with a large amount of livestock. She left the military horses for Pengzhou. They could form a cavalry camp, but she had no place to bring them with her. After scamming the Tubo people and earning a lot of livestock, she arranged for the people in the inner courtyard to be in charge of the local management. Zhang Xiaobao and the Wang family quickly packed up and embarked on the journey back to the capital. Countless people sent them off. Just the local specialties alone filled up more than 100 carriages. They couldn't refuse even if they wanted to. Before Zhang Xiaobao left, he didn't forget to write a letter to Tubo. He told them to get along peacefully, and to try their best not to have bandits intercept his caravan in the desert. Otherwise, Cuckoo would be very sad and angry. Chapter 656. After bidding farewell to the people of Yizhou and the nearby residents, the Zhang family and Wang family raised the flag and began to walk along the winding road to the capital. From here to the capital, it was a distance of nearly 2,000 li, enough to take some time. Walking 20 to 30 li a day was considered fast, but when the road was difficult to walk on, they couldn't move even one step for a long time. In addition, there was a large amount of snow this year. Even Yizhou and Chengdu had light snow, not to mention other places. 5 days later, when Zhang Zhong saw the team carefully protecting the livestock on the road, he found his son and daughter-in-law and said to them, Xiaobao Cuckoo, the road from Jiannan Road to the capital really needs to be repaired. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other blankly, and their expressions changed. The words coming out of Zhang Zhong's mouth were more frightening than asking Zhang Xiaobao to use 50,000 strings of cash to fight an economic war against 400,000 strings of cash, or asking Wang Wan to lead 1,000 people to fight against the Tubo army. Zhang Xiaobao smacked his lips and asked with concern, Father, are you tired? Why don't we let someone carry you and go to the bend in front? That way, we can speed up a bit. I'm not tired. Even if I'm tired, it's fine. There are so many people helping each other and resting while walking. But the people are tired. Don't we have explosives and cement at home? We'll use explosives to blow up the mountain and reinforce it with cement. We've already repaired it from Yizhou, and it's still being repaired there. It's just right to connect. Zhang Zhong frowned and said with concern for the people. Zhang Xiaobao estimated the cost of repairing the road from Yizhou to Chengdu, as well as the main roads around it. It would cost 600,000 strings of cash. How far would that be? Unless it was done blindly, it would be cheap to use a road that would be ruined in 2 years. His father obviously didn't mean to repair the road that only cared about political achievements and didn't care about the people. How much would that cost? If they were to convert all of the assets of the Zhang family and the Wang family into money, and ask Li Xin to fork out some money, they would be lucky if they could build a third of the road. Furthermore, it couldn't be too wide, and they would have to take a detour when they encountered mountains. There was also maintenance to be done. One was cold, and the other was hot. There was no such technique to lay a foundation, and the sand and soil layers were easily damaged. If there was a flood, how much money would they have to invest every year? Zhang Xiaobao felt that this mission was too difficult. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. If the heavens were good, he could just make a big hot air balloon and go up. How much would that cost? Seeing that his son was not speaking, Zhang Zhong suggested, Or you can build a canal. You two have to think of a way. Father, it's better to repair the road. We have to wait. When we occupy 2 more islands overseas, we should have enough money at home. How can we get other merchants involved? If everyone works together, the road will be repaired, and we can even let the merchants who have to work hard to maintain it. Zhang Xiaobao first drew a big picture for his father and agreed. They would talk about it later. Zhang Zhong thought that with his son and daughter-in-law, it would be easy to build a road. Seeing that his son had agreed, he smiled and nodded. He put his hands behind his back and went to look at other places. Wang Wan nudged Zhang Xiaobao. Are you really planning to build a road from Xi'an to Chengdu? That depends on whether the benefits from this road are enough. If the benefits are enough, we will build it. If the benefits are not enough, we will delay it. Zhang Xiaobao did not deny or confirm. What benefits can this road bring? Is it just to make transportation between the two places more convenient? Wang Wan felt that there was no value in building it. At least, they couldn't build it now. The cost was not proportional to the benefits. If it was only for the convenience of a small number of people, it was better to invest the money elsewhere. If it was because of the military, that was still acceptable. However, this was not her problem, but Li Longji's problem. Zhang Xiaobao looked around. Seeing that Old Man Pai and the other two were not around, he whispered to Wang Wan. This road doesn't bring much benefits, but the Silk Road and the Tea-Horse Path are. When the demand in the country gradually increases and conflicts become more concentrated, it will be impossible not to expand. When the time comes, you can lead the army and conquer all of them. I don't believe that the Great Tang, no, the Great Qin, can't defeat the Abbasid Caliphate. Invasion, annexation, plunder, this is the essence of the existence of animals. If someone criticizes us, we will say that we are promoting integration. No one criticizes us. The people of this era are not as bored as we were back then. Even a pig in a cage would object. Are you saying that you don't intend to invest the money to build the road right away? Wang Wan felt that the people of this era were truly too kind. I'm not going to fix it. I want to make the bustling places even more bustling first. Then, I'll drive the surrounding areas to gradually become more prosperous. Chengdu is actually not bad. It's just that the surrounding areas are not good. Doing so will cause many people in remote areas to suffer from a lack of material resources for a certain period of time. But overall, it's more cost-effective than directly investing money in remote areas. Zhang Xiaobao already had a plan in mind. From an individual point of view, every place and every person had to be taken care of. From a general point of view, even if the remote areas suffered losses, they could use the resources of the flourishing places to supplement them. However, if they invested the money that should be used to make the flourishing places more prosperous, before the flourishing places developed to a certain extent, the efficiency of the money would be greatly reduced. This was a very unfair method, but he still had to do it. Wang Wan had no idea what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about. She considered the matter of the war and said, "It won't be easy. The main problem is the religious and ethnic habits, and the adaptability of the army. The sky over there is very blue, but there isn't enough air pressure. If we send the soldiers from the south there, more than half of them won't be able to hold on. If we send the soldiers from the Jiannan circuit, they should be able to hold on a little longer. I'm talking about the people living in the Jiannan highlands. Then, you have to follow up with your plans. I can't just occupy the entire area without anything to provide me with, including resources and culture. If we really conquer it, I won't have to come back. I'll just play around there with nothing to do. Of course, we're not in a hurry yet. No matter what, we'll have to wait for a long time. That's the land route. The main thing is that we should go back and rest. Give me enough time to carry out a large-scale economic plan. It would be great if we had a corresponding team. The ability of the inner court isn't enough, so I'm going to change the rules of the game of Monopoly again. I'll check the 8 generations of the people who are qualified to join the study and research team. These kinds of talents must not be allowed to leave. Let's go. Half of the team has already passed. We'll walk in front and take a look at the local environment. If we can make a small investment, we'll arrange it first. Zhang Xiaobao talked about his plans for the future, then shifted his gaze back to the present. He wanted to give the people living in places with poor lives a chance. He wanted to invest some money and let the locals try to develop on their own. If they couldn't develop, it would be easier for him to adjust and make targeted plans. Zhang Zhong strolled around for a while before he found Old Man Pai and the others. He told them about his idea of building roads, implying that he wanted the imperial court to help. Old Man Pai and the others were shocked. This goal was too big. Although the imperial edict given by the emperor said so, it was fake. Everyone knew that it was fake. The three saw Zhang Zhong's determined look, so they could only ask Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. That's right, we're going to build roads. Let's wait for 20 years. When we have enough money, we'll build it again. Otherwise, we'll build a little bit here. When we have enough money, we'll build another section. After a few sections, we'll have to rebuild the previous sections. Zhang Xiaobao gave them a very long time. He didn't want people to keep an eye on the road. When the three old men heard that it would take 20 years, there was no need to wait. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to wait that long. They shook their heads regretfully and went back to their own business. The team continued to move forward. The thing that they were worried about finally happened. A heavy snow fell gently. It fell very slowly. There was no wind, and it even gave people a feeling that it was falling vertically. At noon, the sky was as dark as the evening. It was hard to see anything that was slightly further away. It's over. It's finally snowing. How many years has it been since it happened? Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the sky and reached out to catch 2 pieces of snow. It was no longer possible to tell that there were 6 petals. It was like a small pile of cotton quietly melting in his palm. Don't say that it's a once-in-a-blue-moon situation. Who cares how many years it's been? Hurry up and think of a solution. The strong will not find such an excuse to push the responsibility away. Even if it happens once in 10,000 years, it's a success if it can solve the problem. If it can't, it's a failure. Looking at the situation of the snow, it will be warm today and tomorrow. If it continues to snow, it will be warm for 2 more days. But the longer it snows, the worse the road will be. At that time, whether it's warm or cold, it will be difficult to travel. I don't want to analyze the problem. I want the final result. Wang Wan pushed the problem to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao blinked a few times and said, "Why is it my problem? Don't worry. What's a little snow? Our team is strong. Our organization and discipline are strong. We train well and have enough nutrition. Even if it's ice skating and mud, we can still get through. My solution is to unite, help each other and charge. That's all we can do. I'll go and mobilize the members." Wang Wan agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's plan. She could only brace herself and rely on the overall quality of the team. Who cares about the snow? At this time, the road was wide enough. It was just that this was a low-lying area. Usually a little rain would flow in this place and soak in it. When it was not snowing, they could hide. But when the snow fell for a long time, it would block the potholes, making it difficult to judge. Fortunately, the snow was heavy and did not melt completely immediately. For the time being, it was not too muddy. Wang Wan's mobilization order was only 1 sentence: charge. Push with your hands and carry with your shoulders. Charge. Zhang family and Wang family did not hesitate at all. They quickly assigned positions and helped the animals pulling the carts move forward with difficulty. After an hour and a half, the sky was no different from the night. The people in the inner courtyard lit the torches prepared in advance. They took off their coats and put them under the wheels of the carts. Then the team continued to move forward. The people who occasionally passed by on the road were shocked by the scene in front of them. Such a big team, and the road was so difficult to walk on, but there was no chaos at all. Except for the rising and falling sounds of shouting and stepping on the snow, there was no other movement. They moved so fast. Even an army in war could not reach such a level, right? When a gust of wind blew the drooping flag away, the people who saw the pattern on it finally knew what kind of team it was. It was the logistics camp of Izhou. No wonder they were so capable. That was right. Except for the logistics camp of Izhou. They did not believe that other teams could reach such a level. They were indeed worthy of their reputation. All the people who knew which team it were looked at the team in a different light, which made Old Man Pai and the other 2 feel proud. They had to admit that the people of Zhang family and Wang family were really good. They cleaned the snow, dug the soil, and patted the clothes. There was only one word to describe them: tacit understanding. This is the team spirit that Xiaobao and Cuckoo mentioned before. It has its own cultural connotation. If you want to defeat such a team, You have to first attack their culture. Old Man Pai looked at the two cooks who were pushing the carts and were in charge of boiling soup to drive away the cold. Old Man Yao and Old Man Chang also nodded in agreement. When they lived together, there was not much difference between the servants of Old Man Yao and Old Man Pai, and those of Zhang family and Wang family. Now that there was an emergency, it was immediately obvious. The servants of the two old men were already working very hard, but they could not cooperate well. Needless to say, Li Sun's team was a real military team. Li Sun also asked for a training plan from Wang Wan. Usually they would train together, so their actions were not bad. Old Man Yao looked for a while and said, "After a while, we have to let the people at home practice more. The gap is too big." The snow was still falling, and the team was still moving forward. The people who had been watching for a while suddenly scattered. No one knew where they ran to, but they disappeared in the blink of an eye. When it was really night time, when the team stopped to rest and eat, many people appeared from both sides of the road. They wanted to be discovered by the seedling protection team. After stopping and asking, they were all local people. They held tools in their hands and gathered here. After greeting each other, they ran to the front of the team to pave the road. The people in the team were stunned. They did not understand why the people were so kind. Zhang Zhong personally went to the leader to ask. He was an old village chief. The whole village had the same surname, Hao. He was here to pave the road. Old Man Hao was simple and honest. He said to Zhang Zhong, "We have heard about what happened to you. We also benefited from exchanging old grain for new grain. There are still 22 animals that you have not collected yet. When the snow stops, you can collect them. It will be more convenient to plow next year." When the army went to Pengzhou, your logistics camp did not let a single soldier freeze or starve on the road from Izhou to Pengzhou. You did not let them suffer any delays on the road. You also helped us defeat Tubo. Today, when you go home, we want to learn from you and pave the road for you. When you set off tomorrow morning, I guarantee that the road ahead of you will be smooth and unimpeded. Hearing the old man's words, Zhang Zhong's eyes reddened. He pursed his lips and nodded. He did not say anything else. He turned back and repeated the old man's words to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then he lowered his head and ate his meal. At this time, on the road ahead, someone holding a torch ran over. He shouted as he ran, "Village Chief Hao, my village has also started work. 20 miles, we have a good place. Continue to work. Tomorrow morning, we will definitely be able to pave the road." More people are rushing forward. Some people have already run to tell the villages further ahead. When the time comes, let our logistics camp people also walk on a smooth road. I just want to say, don't worry. Let's go. There is still a shortage of people there. I have to run back. After this person finished shouting, he turned around and ran back. Just like when he came, he ran in a hurry. The road was not good and he staggered after a few steps. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and looked at the busy figures in front of him. He said to the servant girl next to him, "Give me the money box." The servant girl turned around and went to find Jiang Wang clan. After a while, she came back and handed the money box to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao opened the money box and took out 1,000 strings of coins from it. He said, "When it snows heavily, the local people will have a hard time. This snow probably won't stop for a while. If people come to pave the road, their houses will be in danger. Also, their animals will be easily frozen to death. In addition, their tools are already old and many of them will be damaged. It will not be easy for them to work tomorrow in the spring plowing." Speaking of this, Zhang Xiaobao gave the money to his father and said, "Father, give this to each village. 500 strings of coins. Give one to 2 villages. Let them go to Izhou to buy tools and more animals. If they can't spend it all, let them stop their work and compensate them with the rest of the money. Let them use the free time to saw wood, cut stones, build a good stable, raise more animals and pave the road." Zhang Zhong also felt that the money should be spent. He took the money and went to find old Hao. At this time Li Sun next to him asked puzzledly, "Since they can pave the road for us today, why didn't they do it before? How do you know they haven't done it before? The terrain here is low. Once the dirt road is built, it will be damaged. How much time will it take to repair the stone road? If they have the time to do some work and earn money to support their families, they will be able to survive. They only lack an opportunity, or in other words, a startup fund. With this money, as long as they are not too stupid, their lives will gradually improve. Zhang Xiaobao understood the inner workings of this kind of poor village very well. As long as others helped them, they could make changes. However, many times, because the contribution was not proportional to the income, or because the return of funds was too long, no one was willing to take out the money. If the villagers hadn't come to help his team pave the road, he wouldn't have taken out the money to help. After all, he had already given some of the animals to this place. The locals also benefited from exchanging old grain for new grain. When Li Sun heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, his eyes lit up. He said, "After we pass by these 2 villages, I will pay for the next 2 villages. As long as they help pave the road, I will give 500 strings of coins per village. How many villages do you think we will meet along the way?" I didn't see, but there should be a lot on the military map. If we all help pave the road all the way to the capital, I don't think our money will be enough. Villages are not only on the side of the road, but also in depth. For example, the Hao family's village is on the south side of the road. Is there a village further south? Is there a village on the north side? Right now they are doing this from the bottom of their hearts. They don't expect us to give them anything in return. When we give them money and walk all the way, many people may come from further places for the money. No, I have to tell my father to keep it a secret first. After we leave for 10 days, we will take out the money and use it. Zhang Xiaobao explained a few more words to Li Sun. Suddenly, he realized something and hurried to find his father. Li Sun thought for a moment and said to Wang Wan, "Is it because those who do good will not be rewarded, and those who do evil will not be punished?" No, absolutely not. Xiaobao is worried that the money given may not be able to achieve good results. First, we will change the economic conditions of the villages that are willing to help us pave the road. This is a pilot project. If it is successful, we will promote it later. If it fails, we will conduct a specific analysis. Wang Wan began to worry about money when she thought of this development model. If she only used her family's money to do this, she wouldn't even have enough money for the pilot project. When Zhang Zhong gave the money to Hao Tsuanjing said that he didn't want it. They came to work voluntarily, not for the money. Hao Tsuanjing said to Zhang Zhong, "You are a good official. Everyone knows that your family led the army to fight for their lives in Izhou, and made a lot of money. But your family didn't keep a single penny. They spent all of it on the people around us. You opened a business with your family's money. You don't want to help yourself to get benefits, but we can't pave the road for the sake of benefits." When Zhang Xiaobao came, the two were still trying to persuade each other. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao said that he wanted to use this place as an experiment to see if it could help more villages to live a better life. When the village was rich in the future, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family could come to buy livestock or food. The village would give the same price to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family first. Only then did Hao Tsuanjing accept the money and promised to give half of it to the neighboring villages after 10 days. He also said that if they raised more livestock and poultry in the future, they would cut them down while planting them. If they sawed down a lot of wood, as long as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family came to buy it, they wouldn't sell it to others even if it was cheaper. With the support of money, Old Hao immediately had other thoughts. He called people to come over and asked the villagers to look at the time. If there was enough time, they would pave the road wider. He didn't explain the specific reason now, so as to avoid leaking the fact that he had received money. Old Hao thought clearly. Since he had money to help, he would take advantage of this opportunity to pave the road in one go. It would save him the trouble of doing it a second time. The next morning, when the team set out, there was still snow on the road. It had fallen at night, so the sky hadn't cleared yet. The women who stayed in the village all rushed over with their children and elders. More than a dozen houses had collapsed, so they were waiting for their own laborers to go back and fix it. The cooks of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family prepared more food for the villagers, and then left in a hurry. Once the road was repaired, it was indeed different. The people who swept the snow in front opened the road, so they didn't have to rely on manpower to fill the holes. Their speed also increased, and it only took them 2 hours to reach the road in another village. It was also covered in snow, and the road was also flat. After greeting them, they continued to move forward. Another 2 hours passed, and a road repair team appeared in front of them again. At this time, the road was still a little unfinished. The news came late, and the villagers were still working hard. This is the power of the people's hearts. Just because it's your Zhang family's logistics camp that came over, it made a road that was difficult to walk on smooth. Your Zhang family's flag is very useful. Old Man Pai followed beside Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Yes, we'll leave immediately. My family doesn't want to reach the level of winning the hearts of the people and ruling the world." Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and replied, Don't leave. The logistics camp was set by the imperial court, not your family. It's a good opportunity to let others see how much glory it is to listen to the imperial court, build a place, and lead troops to victory. Chapter 657. Just like that, the Zhang and Wang clans groups continued on their way. They didn't have the slightest delay, because of the road in Jiannan Road. After passing through Jiannan Road, they arrived at Shannon West Road. There wasn't much snow here, only a light snowfall that had long melted. Just as the citizens of Jiannan Road were worrying about the logistics camp, many citizens of Shannon West Road suddenly came out to help repair the road. There were even people from the army participating in the repair work. They helped to protect the areas that were easy to walk on, and they helped to repair the roads for the areas that were difficult to walk on. The soldiers who came over were the most respectful towards Wang Wan. They had sent 12 battalions to fight in Tubo, and those who came back alive had all contributed greatly. The families of those who died also received a large amount of compensation. They had come back ahead of time, and had already publicized Cuckoo's capabilities over and over again. They said that the families of those who died received so much compensation, and a large portion of it came from between the clouds and the water. If not for Cuckoo, all of them would have died in Tubo, not to mention contributing greatly. Thus, the citizens of Shannon West Road didn't respect the logistics camp as much as the citizens of Jiannan Road, but they were still grateful. The military merits of those who died were also counted, and the money that their families received was enough to build a 2-story house. Even if they wanted their families to come back alive, how could there be no casualties in war? Such a generous compensation was much more than what they had received in the past. As a result, the traveling speed of the caravan wasn't slow either, covering at least 150 li in a single day. Many merchants who were traveling from Jiannan to the capital followed behind the caravan of the Zhang and Wang clans, and the journey was extremely comfortable. The people who were heading to Jiannan Road from the capital also felt the difference in the road conditions. Although the road conditions would probably end in a few more days, the journey was smooth and smooth. Everyone calculated the time, and realized that they could still spend the new year at Sanshui County when they returned to the capital. It wasn't like other people who took this road, which would take 3 to 4 months, or even half a year. When the mountain road was difficult, there were many people helping to push and pull them, so it didn't take too much time. This news also spread to the capital. Gao Lishur couldn't wait to decorate his home. He was waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to arrive, settle down a little, and immediately adopt him. "Hercules, are you happy? I didn't expect them to come back so quickly." Li Longji was also very happy. He was finally coming back. He didn't have to worry about anything happening over there. At the same time, he could ask Bai Chou and Yao Chong. He thought that the two of them would learn a lot of useful knowledge. Gao Lishur did indeed have a smile on his face as he replied, "Your Majesty, I really didn't expect that there would be so many people helping out on such a difficult road. Many people are saying that Your Majesty uses people well. You can only use it well if you have the ability. If you don't, how can you use it? Don't worry, I won't be unhappy just because the people are building roads for them. I'll let all the civil and military officials know that those who serve the people wholeheartedly will be loved and respected by the people. Do you think it's okay if I follow them to Sanshui County?" Li Longji had never been to places that were too far away. In the past, when he wasn't the emperor, he would always wander around. Now that he was in the capital, he was a little bored and wanted to go out. Especially when he heard people praising Sanshui County so much, he couldn't see it with his own eyes. Gao Lisher shook his head vigorously. Your Majesty, no, definitely not. I won't go out and will accompany your Majesty. If your Majesty wants to see the scenery of Sanshui County, get someone to draw it. Cuckoo has a new painting method that can make people feel as if they are there when they see the scenery. Many people in Jianjia Academy have also learned it, so let them draw it. Li Longji also knew that he couldn't casually go out to play. When he heard Gao Lisher's suggestion, he nodded. All right, then get someone to draw it. I heard that your son Xiaobao's counterattack hasn't ended yet. He sent people to Tubo to cause trouble. I wonder how he got the news. Your Majesty, it's true. Xiaobao and Cuckoo are both like this. As long as others provoke them first, they will definitely not just beat them back. They have to fight back. I don't have any news, and I guess Xiaobao also doesn't have any news. Your Majesty, they seem to have sent something again. As Gao Lisher was speaking, he saw his subordinates outside the hall gesturing. Go quickly. Li Longji didn't know what was going on after only 2 days. Gao Lisher left in a hurry and returned after a while. There were 10 people behind him, each carrying a big bag. He held 2 letters in his hands. One was opened, presumably for him, and the other was still intact. However, unlike before, Gao Lisher revealed a distressed expression when he returned, but there was also a happy expression at the corner of his eyes. It was very contradictory. Li Longji looked at Gao Lisher in puzzlement and asked, Lisher, why are you like this? It's nothing, Your Majesty. This is a letter from Zhang Zhong. From the other letter, I know that this letter states that the Zhang Zhong and Wang family appeared as a test for the common people. He wants Your Majesty to pay more attention in the future. The specific situation is written in the letter. It's very thick. Gao Lisher took a deep breath and handed the letter to one of his subordinates. That young eunuch was responsible for opening the letter. Li Longji didn't look at the letter. Instead, he looked at the 10 young eunuchs who followed him in. They were still carrying things. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva, thinking that Xiaobao gave his adoptive father something delicious again. Gao Lisher knew that the emperor would ask, so he replied, Inside the bag is not food. It's a toy that Xiaobao and Cuckoo gave to this official for fun. It's a miniature model of the Tubo Desert. It's like a sand table. When the 2 were fighting in Tubo, they ran around the desert. After looking around and drawing a map, they made it on the road and sent it to this official as soon as it was done. While Gao Lisher was speaking, he asked someone to take out and open the bag. Sure enough, it was a mess of things. Just as he was about to ask someone to put it away, Li Longji spoke. What model? Take a look. Don't you have to put it together, just like the building blocks that many children have now? Exactly. Gao Lisher originally thought that Li Longji would lose interest when he heard that it was a sand table. Then he would take it home and secretly look at it himself. He didn't expect that the emperor would insist on seeing it. He arranged for people to start assembling the sand table, according to the instructions in the manual that was sent. Only after the assembly did they know how big the sand table was. It was actually an irregular object that was about 4 zhang wide and 6 zhang long. Then he asked people to bring sand and water to continue filling it. A large group of people, including Li Longji, worked for more than 2 hours. After they were done with the sand table, they had a special feeling just by looking at it. The desolation of the desert, the clarity of the pool, and the plants and animals in the desert were all reflected in their eyes. It made people feel as if they had come to another place. Your Majesty, this is the desert that Xiaobao and Cuckoo led people into. Once, there were 40,000 Tubo soldiers outside the desert, but they didn't dare to take a step in. At that time, our dynasty only had less than 10,000 cavalrymen. Gao Lisher said to Li Longji with a hint of pride. He was not proud of Li Longji. He was proud of Cuckoo and the great Tang. A large group of maids and eunuchs who were in charge of assembling the sand table saw that no one was driving them away, so they didn't say anything. They quietly looked at the sand table and felt the vastness of the desert. They also thought of how Cuckoo looked when she was covered in blood. Li Longji looked from one side to the other without blinking. He reached out his hand and wanted to touch it, but he didn't want to. After a while he said, "Good, good. Quickly fill up my hall. There is also a small person, a pony and an eagle. Is it called Shuiyin?" Yes, Shuiyin has made a lot of contributions. Looking at this model, I seem to see the situation when Cuckoo led the army to war. It's really not easy. Gao Lishur sighed softly and replied, "It's not easy. It's really not easy. This thing is well made. How about this? I will put the model in a special place in Xingqing Palace, so that you can always look at it. What do you think?" Li Longji adjusted the position of the small shell by the lake and stopped with satisfaction. He gave Gao Lishur a place to look. Gao Lishur quickly said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Although he said thank you, he felt pain in his heart. When he brought it here, he knew that he couldn't let him take it home. He was right. He couldn't say that it was made by Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, so it couldn't be put in Xingqing Palace. Li Longji was happy. He could often look at it in the future. If any minister came, he could take it to see it. There were also concubines. The maids and eunuchs were also happy. As long as it was in Xingqing Palace, they would have a chance to see it. If it was outside, they could see it at any time. Even if it was afraid of wind and rain, it could be put in the room and they could clean it. Li Longji admired the model and suddenly thought of what he just said. He waved his hand and let the others leave. He said to Gao Lishur, "Since the desert can be made into a model, can you also make a model of Sanshui County and other places? I can't go there personally, but it's good to see the model." "That's right. Now that there is a map, it won't cost much to make a model according to the map. However, there is no place to put it." Gao Lishur thought for a while and felt that it wouldn't be a waste of money. If you don't have a place, then find a place. Give up that useless garden and use it to store the models. When the time comes, all of the great Tang will be in our palace. Even in war, it can be used. It's much more useful than a sand table. I'll leave this matter to Lishur. Li Longji imagined that he could see things from all over the country as long as he was in the palace. He was very happy and let Gao Lishur arrange it. As for the money, of course he wouldn't pay. At most, when Gao Lishur recognized his son, he would personally go and congratulate him. What Gao Lishur was worried about was not who would fork out the money. He was worried that Xiao Bao would earn money from such a thing again. There was a model in the game, but it was not detailed enough. Furthermore, it was not done well. If Xiao Bao really did it this time, how much money would he earn? Gao Lishur didn't doubt his son's ability. During the economic war, he caused Tubo to be in such a state. If he were to pay to make a model, it would be strange if he didn't make money. Thinking of this, Gao Lishur said awkwardly, "Your Majesty, if we let Xiao Bao pay for it, what should we do when he earns money from it?" "It can't be, right?" Li Longji asked without confidence. He just remembered the Zhang family's ability to make money. Almost everything that other people see as a loss of money can be done by the Zhang family. When he gave the order to build roads, he thought that the Zhang family would lose a lot of money. Who would have thought that not only did the Zhang family not lose money, they even made a lot of money? If this matter made money again, what should he do? There must be some officials in the court who are not willing. They will think that he is biased towards the Zhang family and give all the benefits to the Zhang family. Gao Lishur gave an idea. "Your Majesty, why don't we ask all the officials first and see which one of them is willing to do the work of making the model? They are not allowed to disturb the people, and are not allowed to ask the local government for money. They can only fork out the money themselves. If no one agrees, we can then give the money to the Zhang family. At that time, when they make money, no one can say anything." "Okay, we will do as Lishur said." Li Longji agreed. During the morning assembly the next day, Li Longji wanted all the ministers to take a look at the model of the desert. After that, he raised the question of who would be willing to make a model of the entire country and not be able to ask for money from others. After all the officials looked at it, they estimated that this model would cost close to 1,000 strings of coins. This model didn't cost much. It was mainly used to explore the specific situation. This was different from playing with models. There were a lot of mountains and rivers in playing with models. It wasn't that detailed. In the end, no one was willing to do this work. Li Longji had no choice but to write a decree and let the Zhang family complete it. At that time, the Zhang family would be credited as having done a meritorious deed. At first, all the officials thought that the Zhang family would have to pay a lot of money this time. After they finished discussing other matters and retreated from the court, they felt that something was wrong. How could the Zhang family possibly pay? Unless the Zhang family was willing to take out money and give it to the court directly for the court to fix the irrigation works and roads, they definitely wouldn't pay. They understood now. The emperor must have already planned to let the Zhang family earn money from this project. In order to shut their mouths, the emperor must have asked them first. If they had known earlier, they would have taken over the project and cooperated with the Zhang family. The Zhang family must have a way to make money from the model. Unfortunately, they didn't think of this. Zhang Xiaobao was still on the road when he received a letter sent by a fast horse. Gao Lishur mentioned that the gift was placed in Xingqing Palace. He would be able to see it in the future. He expressed his gratification. In fact, the meaning behind his words was, "Son, the good things you and your wife gave me were snatched away by the emperor. I can't do anything about it." Then he mentioned that he wanted Xiaobao to make a model for the entire country. Isn't this just asking us to spend money? Godfather has already acknowledged this. Why don't we help? When Wang Wan saw the content, she muttered unhappily. There was a map, and it was a military map. When the time came, they could just add in some snack models of special places. However, that would cost a lot of money. It would probably cost less than 100,000 strings of coins. Look at the essence of things. Don't look at the surface. How is it asking my family to spend money? It is clearly asking me to make money. Look at this. It has already been said that no one in the imperial court will take over. This is to seal the mouths of others. We are rich. We were worried about not having enough money. Now we don't have to worry anymore. At least we can earn at least 300,000 strings of coins. Zhang Xiaobao held the letter and said happily to Wang Wan. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao say that they could make money, she was no longer angry. Since Zhang Xiaobao said that they could make money, they definitely could make money. She came over to read the letter carefully and asked, "How do we make money?" "We will know when it is done. As long as we make a set of this model, we can make another set according to the same model. Where should we put it? We can't throw it away." Li Longji is really generous. He actually gave us such a big deal. No, 300,000 strings of coins is too little. Moreover, it won't be of much benefit to what we are doing. It's just that money is not enough. I have to add in something else. We have to change the pure earning of money to other things that have a positive effect on society. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the road in front of him. They had already passed the Shannon West Road and entered the territory of the capital. There were still 11 days before the new year. If they rushed, they could make it back to Sanshui County before the new year. If they really couldn't make it back in time, they would just spend the new year in the capital. After getting on the carriage, he began to perfect his plan. In order to make money, he had to promote the development of the entire society, at least in a certain aspect. Once they passed the place, no one would help to repair the road, and no one would help to move things. Fortunately, the road here was not that difficult to walk on. The team rushed with all their might. Most of them only rested for 3 hours a day, and moved the rest of the time. There were still 4 days before the new year, and the team was still 2 days away from the capital. Zhang Zhong finally gave up on the idea of returning to Sanshui County. It was too late. Zhang Xiaobao also gave up, but his plan was completed. First, he wrote a letter to the capital, and then asked the team to slow down and rest. He also sent someone to the capital in advance to inform his family's business. Many people were going to spend the new year in the capital, and he had to arrange a good place. Other than arranging a place, he also had to prepare all kinds of gifts. When the time came, there would definitely be many people giving gifts. He had to return. At this moment, the imperial court was no longer in session. Other than those on duty, all the officials had returned home to prepare for the new year. Li Longji settled some matters, and also had some free time. Every day he would take time to look at the model of the desert, fantasizing that one day, he would be able to see the entire Great Tang in the palace. Occasionally he would go to the pear garden to take a look, and ask if the savant's restaurant had any new dishes for the imperial kitchen to learn. Gao Lishur, on the other hand, was very busy. It was almost the new year, and he was in charge of many things. He ordered his subordinates around, and he was also very busy. When he finally finished some things and was about to rest and asked the emperor if there was anything else he needed, Xiao Bao's letter arrived. Gao Lishur had no choice but to take the letter to Li Longji. When they met, Li Longji was playing the guqin. The guqin, in other words, was a guitar. The Zhang family gave it to him, who asked him to like everything. He also saw Gao Lishur and asked, "Lishur, are you too busy?" "It's okay, but things are a little complicated. This is the only time a year, so naturally, I have to spend it well." Gao Lishur wiped the sweat on his forehead and replied, "I heard that Xiao Bao was the one who arranged everything along the way. Not only was he in charge of the things on the other side, but he also had to consider the news from Izhou from time to time, and arrange the reception in the capital as well as the rescue of the snow disaster. This time his family took out 100,000 strings of cash and arranged it in the name of the imperial court. How did he do it? Isn't he busy?" Li Longji knew that this was a master training Xiao Bao, but so many things were taken care of by Xiao Bao, and there seemed to be no loopholes in his management. This was not easy. Could it be that there were more things in the palace than that? Hearing the emperor mention Xiao Bao, Gao Lishur presented the letter and said, "Your Majesty, he is not only busy with those things. He also wrote a plan for the things I asked him to do a few days ago and sent it to me. I can't compare to him. How can Xiao Bao's logistical organization be surpassed by ordinary people? He is a person who specializes in economic warfare." "Oh, the plan came out so soon? Isn't Xiao Bao's ability because you, as his godfather, are proud of him? Tell me, what is written in the letter?" Li Longji was now more and more satisfied with the two children. They were very filial and reassured. Before any ceremony, they had already sent something to Gao Lishur. Fortunately, he let them take a look. Otherwise, they would have been taken home by Gao Lishur. Gao Lishur indeed felt proud of himself. He decided to wait for Xiao Bao to come back, and ask Xiao Bao if there was any good way to make things easier when doing things. He believed that Xiao Bao would not be too tired. He looked at Li Longji and replied, "Your Majesty, Xiao Bao said in the letter that the model can be made bigger, and can be made all over the country. However, he has a request. First, he wants to make a set after it is done and put it in another place. He will send people to protect it. Second, he needs to find powerful hunters and fishermen all over the Tang Empire. The first request is feasible. If he makes the model secretly, no one will know about it. It will be fine as long as he protects it well, and doesn't let anyone steal it." "What does the second request mean?" Li Longji did not understand. Replying to Your Majesty, Xiao Bao said that the model alone is not enough. He needs to catch all kinds of animals from all over the country and rear them. There is no one who specializes in rearing animals. Most hunters are the most familiar with animals. When the time comes, we will build a huge zoo in the capital. Some of the animals can be used to make medicine, and some of the animals can be used to help people. He wanted people to learn how to raise animals. When the time came, they would try their best to have more cubs. Otherwise, if there was a need for medicinal herbs one day and there were not enough animals, it would also have an impact on medicine. Some animals might even become extinct in the end, never to be found again. They had to leave some wealth for their descendants. Another point is that after the zoo is set up, people will be able to research why animals have such thick fur, and why some animals are afraid of water. We will be able to figure out what is useful to humans. If 1 year is not enough, we will do it for 10 years. If 10 years is not enough, we will do it for 100 years. With generations of research, we will be stronger than other countries." Gao Lishur had already memorized everything written in the letter, and explained it to Li Longji one by one. Hearing Gao Lishur's words, Li Longji was also moved. "You are indeed a great talent. Good. I agree to find animals and good hunters and fishermen from all over the country. I will also arrange for a place to build a zoo and send people to learn. Even if we don't do it for ourselves, We have to think for the future generations. Your Majesty, there is no need to use extra money to feed the animals. There is also the need to prepare things like ice and heating. The money that the zoo earns is enough. Anyone who wants to go in to see the animals will have to spend money. The animals that live in different environments will be placed together according to their area. It will cost 1 copper coin to see the animals that live in different environments. Some animals eat meat and fruits. The zoo can prepare them. When the time comes, people who want to watch the animals will have to pay for them. I believe that many rich people will be willing to do this. If we find talented people, it will be like the place where the animals are raised in the imperial family. We will train the animals and perform for people. Watching the performances will also cost money. Of course, not all places will have to be opened. Some people are unwilling to spend the money, so they will specially open a part of the zoo for people to watch for free. In addition, after visiting so many places in the zoo, they will also need to rest and eat. This part of the zoo can also be used to earn money to feed the animals. As for the remaining money, Your Majesty can use it to repair other things. Gao Lisher did not know what Xiao Bao was thinking. He even thought about this. The imperial family originally had many animals, but they were few in number and did not have enough species. The main reason was that the cost of raising them was too high. If there were too many animals, they could not afford to raise them. Furthermore, they would not casually open them to others. Li Longji really did not think about collecting money. After thinking about it, he felt that it was feasible. When the animals had money, the remaining money could be used for other things. He said, "This is good. What other ideas can make money and bring other benefits to people?" Gao Lisher raised his head and looked at the letter in the emperor's hand. He continued, "Your Majesty, there is also the money earned from the models. The money given to Your Majesty cannot be used to do business, but the money left by Xiao Bao himself can be used to let people watch. Each time he will charge a fee and sell the local specialties and souvenirs of various places. Xiao Bao means that if he and Cuckoo want to go to a poor county to do something, they don't have to be the county magistrate. However, the local county magistrate is absolutely not allowed to make trouble for them. Otherwise, don't blame him for being merciless. If he and Cuckoo are allowed to make models in the poor county, they can turn the poor county into a rich county." "Oh, he has such plans? He even threatened me. Either I give them a county magistrate, or I arrange for an obedient person to go over. Then I'll randomly arrange for a county magistrate to go over, and see if he can cause trouble for them and wait for them to deal with him. Their family has no lack of people to deal with, so it can help me test the officials. Let's see which county magistrate did poorly this year, and send them over. In the future, whoever doesn't work hard will be sent to them." When Li Longji heard Gao Lisher say that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wanted to be officials, he had a plan in mind. When Zhang Zhong arrived in Luoyang, he would find a poor county near Luoyang for the two of them to cause trouble. He believed that if they did not understand what was going on, the experts in their families would take action, and casually help to deal with the officials who did not do their jobs properly. Thinking of turning a poor county into a rich county, Li Longji asked again, "Did they mention how they can improve the lives of the locals through a model?" "No, they only said that no matter what they do over there, as long as the people do not flee, starve, or freeze to death, no one can find trouble for them. They will probably be suppressed, or they will go home." When Gao Lisher said this, the corners of Weiwei's mouth curled up. "Ha ha ha, they are indeed children. They can even say such things. If they can't do it, they will go home. Ha ha, I agree. Let's see what will happen in the end." Li Longji laughed out loud. These two children were really fun to play with. However, it was such interesting children. One of them led troops into battle, causing the Tibetans to call him a demon. The other was a remote commander, causing the Tibetans to be unable to retaliate when they launched an economic war. He really did not know how to describe it. Zhang Xiaobao did not know that Li Longji would agree so readily. As he waited for news, he got the team to advance slowly. As long as they reached the capital before 30, there was no rush. At the same time, he was busy with his own plans. A poor county, in his heart, referred to a place that had no natural economy, no minerals, and inconvenient transportation. It was really poor. Under normal circumstances, no one would be willing to stay in such a place, let alone invest. Unless it was a polluting industry, they would hide in such a place to harm the people. In order to eat better and wear better, the people had no choice but to give up their health. Only such a place would have challenges. Otherwise, if a county was randomly arranged for him and Cuckoo, what was there to manage? It was enough as long as they invested money, and the money they invested could be earned back very quickly. Wang Wan also knew that the location arranged for the two of them would not be too far away from the capital or Luoyang. She was looking for a poor county on the map to see where was suitable. Xiaobao wanted to train his father, so he could only leave. Of course, he also had to bring Xiaobei and the rest with him. He had to stay by their side. At that time, he would bring his parents over to take a look every once in a while. After all, there was not much to do when he became an official in Luoyang. After searching for a while, he did not find the kind of place that Zhang Xiaobao had requested. He nudged Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "Why do you insist on being an official? You still have to find a truly poor county. There is no one nearby. You can't be far away from home. Don't tell me you want to be a demonstration and tell other officials how to govern a place. I'm not going to be a demonstration. I want to slowly stand in front with you and weaken the existence of experts. At the same time, I want to build a foundation for the future. We are young, so we can only get Xiaoli to arrange a lower position for us. We can't be too high. We need to interact with the grassroots more. In the future, when Xiaoli gives us a higher position, we will have an excuse. At the same time, I want Xiaobei and the rest to watch from the side. In case someone wants to be an official in the future, we can't be ignorant and suffer losses first, right? Also, a small place has its benefits. My father is not busy. How much energy can we spend on governing a small county? I'll find some time to make other arrangements." Zhang Xiaobao was analyzing human nature and consumer psychology. Since there were no resources, he had to think of ways to create resources. In this world, there was no place that could not develop. It only depended on how much one was willing to invest, even if it was a desert. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family members were worried. They did not want to let their children leave their side. Even though they knew Xiaobao and Cuckoo's abilities, they still wanted to watch over and protect them. However, they also knew that it was not good to not let the two children go out. It was not good for the children to always be cooped up at home. They could only think of ways to arrange for the two children to go out and visit them every 2 or 3 days. Old Man Pai and the other two were also in a dilemma. They also knew that Xiaobao and Cuckoo were going to a county to do something. They were hesitating whether to follow Xiaobao and Cuckoo or follow Zhang Zhong. "You two tell me, do you want to go to a county or to Luoyang?" Zhang Zhong's position can be considered fixed. "We can't go to Beijing, so we have to go to Luoyang to train. If we follow Zhang Zhong, we can always know what new things come out of his house and how the experts can help Zhang Zhong. In this way, we won't be able to see the little ones again. It's strange. Besides, Xiaobao and Cuckoo are not bad now. I reckon that when the two of them become local officials, many interesting things will happen." Old Man Chang sat in the carriage. When he was in a dilemma, he asked Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. Old Man Pai scratched his head worriedly. "Actually, I want to follow Xiaobao and Cuckoo to see how far the two of them can go. However, I'm afraid that because of my identity, people from other places will go there because of my identity. That way, the two of them won't be able to show off their abilities. If I leave them, I reckon that it will be difficult to eat their cooking in the future." I also considered this, but after thinking about it, I decided to follow Xiaobao and Cuckoo. I'll follow them secretly when they arrive. That way no one will know. Old Man Yao also voiced his thoughts. When this idea came out, Old Man Pai and Old Man Chang suddenly felt that it was a good idea and nodded in agreement. On the morning of the 29th day of the 12th lunar month, the group finally arrived outside the capital. They could already see the city walls and the city gates. All the flags that represented their identities were raised, and everyone began to change their clothes. Li Sun put on his duke's clothes and raised the flag, showing off his prestige. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao also wore purple clothes, showing off their splendor. The adults of the Zhang family and Wang family, except for Zhang Zhong, were all scattered officials or titled ladies. However, even so they still had their own clothes and backing. Even Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also changed into purple clothes and hung a goldfish bag. Seeing this, Xiao Bei and the little ones were envious. Xiao Bei also wants to wear it. Xiao Bei also has one. Xiao Bei pulled on her brother's robe and pouted as she requested. Okay, then wear it. I believe that no one will impeach our family's Xiao Bei. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that his sister was unhappy, he immediately agreed. His family had indeed made clothes for the little ones like his and cuckoos for them to wear and play. Old Man Pai, Old Man Yao, and Li Sun didn't care at all. It was fine as long as they were happy. Who would care about them? They even told them the rules and told them what grade of clothes to wear. However, they didn't have the corresponding backing. The only thing they could rely on was the big house. Of course, this house was more impressive than other people's backing. When they came back, they were exhausted. When they went up the mountain, dozens of people had to work together. When they were approaching just now, the people on the road only felt that it was a little bigger. However, when they took out all of their backing, it didn't feel that it was that big anymore. Those who knew the rules of the officials all stopped and looked at the group. Who exactly were these people that entered the capital? There were too many officials, and each of them had a high grade? Especially the servants, whose clothes were also very impressive. The men and women were dressed in the same color, and they were lined up in groups with fluttering banners. As they got closer and closer to the city gate, they adjusted their pace and could feel the vibrations of the ground. Just when everyone was puzzled, the gate of the capital finally opened. A group of people suddenly came out from inside. When they looked carefully, they were also dressed in both men and women's clothes, and they carried a banner with a picture of a rice sprout. Now everyone knew who they were. They were from the Zhang family and Wang family of Sanshui. No wonder they were so impressive. This was the victorious return of the logistics camp in Izhou. In the past, they only knew that the Savant's restaurant and other businesses in the capital belonged to the Zhang family and Wang family. Very few people had actually seen the Zhang family and Wang family. They only knew that the two families were extraordinary. As for how extraordinary they were, they didn't know. Now they had learned something new. Just the banners they carried showed that the Zhang family and Wang family had 10 high-ranking officials. Was every single one of them an official? 4 of them had the title of nobility. Could it be that the women of the two families were all nobility? All of them were of such high ranks. The group couldn't stop just because of the attention of others. They continued to move forward and met up with their families who had come out of the city to welcome them. Behind the group of Zhang family and Wang family members were merchants who had also received the news and came to welcome them. These merchants were partners with the Zhang family and Wang family, as well as Li Sun. Since they were back, how could they not welcome them? No matter how important the matter was, they had to put it aside first. Otherwise, how could they continue to cooperate in the future? In addition to this group of people, there were also people behind them. They were the people from Jianjia Academy and Zhang family and Wang family, who had passed the imperial examination. Some were not official yet, while some were already wearing official robes, including those who had passed the imperial examination sponsored by the Zhang family and Wang family. There were also those who hadn't passed the imperial examination. They were arranged according to their ranks. They didn't dare to take a carriage and walked here. With such a welcoming group, there was no need for others to enter or leave. If they wanted to enter, they had to go through another door. This door was not open. Zhang Zhong walked forward and said to the person in charge of welcoming them, "I'm back." "Welcome, master." After the people from Zhang family and Wang family who were doing business in the front greeted him in unison. The merchants behind also shouted in unison, "Brother Zhang, please." After that, it was the officials and students. They bowed together and saluted. "Greetings, students." The people who were watching the show had a great time. In the future, they could brag about it to those who had never seen such a scene. These were the people from Zhang family and Wang family. The one who received the salutes in succession was the head of the Zhang family, Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong returned the salute and prepared to enter the city. The people guarding the city didn't dare to come over and ask Zhang Zhong and the others for something that represented their identity. They obediently hid at the side. Just as everyone was preparing to enter the city, another group of people came out of the city. One person sat on a horse and hurried over with the others. When they saw this person and recognized him, they were so shocked that their jaws dropped. It was actually Gao Lisher who personally came out to welcome them. It was General Gao. How much face did he have to have General Gao personally come out to welcome him? Everyone greeted Gao Lisher one after another. Even Zhang Zhong stepped forward and cupped his hands in greeting. Before he could finish his greeting, Gao Lisher hurriedly stopped him. Governor Zhang, there's no need to be so polite. Where are Xiaobao and Cuckoo? Quickly follow me into the palace. Gao Lisher had been waiting and waiting. Finally, the people he had been waiting for had returned. Without waiting for him to ask for leave from Li Longji had sent him out to bring Xiaobao and Cuckoo into the palace. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked forward from behind. Behind them were Xiaobei and the others. As soon as they met, Zhang Xiaobao didn't know how to address him. He sized up Gao Lisher and felt that he was indeed as described. In fact, he was even better than described. He was good-looking and had a face full of righteousness. When he stood there, he didn't look like a eunuch at all. He was clearly a handsome man. Xiaobao. Cuckoo, call me Uncle Gao first. Come back with me. Yo. This is Xiaobei, right? So good-looking. Do you want to be an official like brother and sister? Gao Lisher told Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan how to address him. When he looked behind the two, he saw Xiaobei's eyes widen. He looked over with a curious expression. He immediately said to Xiaobei, "Hello, Uncle Gao. Xiaobei will treat Uncle Gao to some candy." Xiaobei wasn't afraid of people. He stepped forward and took out a piece of candy from his bag and handed it over. Gao Lisher hurriedly opened his mouth and held the candy. He then kissed Xiaobei. Only then did he stand up straight and signal for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to follow. As for what Xiaobei and the others were wearing, he didn't see them. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.